didn't price the chart. I mean, I can.
All right, it's 9 o'clock, but before I call this meeting to order, I have an important question. Has anyone seen the secretary? Okay, so this is going to be interesting. Hopefully...
He said he was going to drive up in the morning, which is good.
Okay. Hopefully it's like any moment now, but...
Set your laptop to record.
It is. It is. It is both recording and streaming, so we will have the information one way or another. I guess I'll ask now, in the event that it's not any moment now, is there anyone who wants to volunteer to be Secretary Pro Tem? Anybody at all?
Volunteer?
Yes, volunteer.
No, I don't know if I want to volunteer. If you tell me to, I might.
It's clear that he wants to nominate people. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. If anyone wants to nominate.
I nominate Arthur.
You accept that nomination?
Seconded.
If you don't want to, you don't have to. Okay.
You want me to go up there or just stay there?
If you want to come up here until Gary arrives,
Okay.
whichever's easiest for you. We can communicate like this. I just figured you'd be able to see who's doing stuff.
The only problem is I don't have a role.
I have the previous meeting's minutes, which has a list of people, which we can develop a role from. It'll be a little bit slower,
We're trying to make
but
that work.
we can make it work.
Thank you, Arthur.
Yes, thank you.
Y'all speak up loud because I can't read my own handwriting. So I'm going to rely on this audio more than my handwriting.
Yeah, also pay attention because the order is going to be a little bit different today because the way he has it broke up in the minutes. I guess I'll tell you ahead of time, Mike Ryan and Timothy Allen, when we get to them, they're removed. So they were just here last time.
Oh, okay.
So other than that,
Everyone else should be the same.
yes, I can't think of anyone who has resigned since then. So with that, I'll go ahead and call us to order. And first up, we have credentialing and changes to select membership. Do you want to just read off, or do you want me to read to you?
You can say them out loud.
Okay.
I mean, you can do the one.
That'll work. John Wilford, present. And I'm going to go a little bit slower so you can write as we go.
I'm just going to write people that are absent.
Okay, sounds good. John Wilford, present. Stephen Harris.
Present.
Gary Johnson. Cassie Villa. Chris Blystone.
I saw him just a minute ago.
Okay.
County was here.
You want to just make a note, and when he walks in, you can cross it
Back
through?
around at the end.
Yeah, exactly. Madeline Krause. Nicole Sprayberry. Oh, yes, you're right. That is a resignation. Yeah, go ahead and make a note of that. Jennifer Payne. Anastasia Wilford.
Here.
Scott Ford. DJ Howard. Amy Lyons.
Here.
Matthew Whittington. Kathy Glass.
Here.
Tom Glass.
Here.
Sean Jones. Eric Van Single.
I'm here.
Renee Perez.
Here.
Liz Scripter.
Here.
Jeffrey Adams.
Here.
Brian Buford.
Here.
John Hong.
All right.
Bob Townsend.
Present.
George Reynolds.
Here.
David Turner.
Here.
Lee Sharp.
Present.
Bill Kelsey.
Here.
Neil Dykeman. Carol Unsicker.
Here.
Mike Dooling.
Here.
Kyle Russell.
Here.
Christopher Clements.
Yo.
Marion Young.
Here.
Andrew Amelang.
Here.
Anthony Valdivia. Hope I said that right. Sean Flanagan.
Here.
Troy Keithley. Mark Lowe.
Here.
I finally said that right. Eric Schaefer.
Right here.
Eugene Flynn.
Yeah.
Joe Burns.
Here.
Ben Farmer. Leon. All right, Ross Leon is removed. Krista Hamill. Krista Hamill's removed. Brad Clardy.
Here.
Brad Clardy's here. Jordan Leinenkugel.
Here.
Johnny Smithers. Smithers removed. Barry T. Hill.
Present.
Shannon Thomason.
Here.
All right. How many people were removed? 3 were removed. Okay. Give us just. Oh, and who else walked in? That they said was here.
Oh, Tim, I think we saw Tim. Oh, there, Chris.
Chris. Okay, so they're here. All right, perfect. Stand at ease for just a moment. I'm going to do some math and figure out the body. It's clear we have quorums, but I just want to know what our numbers are.
And she resigned. So we-
Yes, she resigned, so I need to remove 4 from this number. All right, so we have 49 here. That were here last time at 8. 49 and 8 is 57.
Is there anybody who wasn't called? Just,
Thanks. All right, so that's 57, but we just removed 3 plus 1 that resigned, so that's 53. So our body consists of 53. That's the first number we need.
I've got 52. I don't know what the difference is.
I mean, we'll figure that out later. I don't think it's going to make a substantial difference to this. Now, that said, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 that were, yes. So from 57 minus 15, 42.
well, 11 on the body. Don't count his whole body.
Well, I'm doing it from the first number I got at 57 of what was on the body last time. So it's 42. So there's 42 here. I'm going to confirm that number real quick.
I have 41, so I don't know.
Well, yeah, I'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42.
John, you've gotten a lot of people that aren't SLEC members.
Am I? Okay, if you're a select member, raise your hand. We'll do this the easy one. 1, 2, 3. You can lower your hand after I count. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42.
And then Jennifer Payne just joined us.
So 43 now. I am confident there are 43 here, and whether the number is 53 or 52 doesn't really matter for 99% of business. If we come across one of those, we'll figure it out. So there's our numbers. If anyone wants to grab them real quick.
Yes, hang on. Thank you.
All right, everybody got them? No?
I'm still waking up, John.
I understand.
I need to check in?
We got you. We recognize you and saw you, but thank you.
Awesome, thank you. I got it.
Awesome. Okay. With that, all right, we made it through that. Obstacle 1. Next is to adopt an agenda. I have R2 up here. I'm going to recognize Arthur.
I'll move to adopt R2.
And I know there were some changes, so is there a second? Second. Mr. Glass.
I'd like to do a swap,
Okay?
and I'd like to take the motion to, no, excuse me, the 1:30 time slot, which is motions relating to file SLEC committees, and move that to the end, and then move up discussion on election results to fill that slot.
Okay, I'm not going to make the change here unless we really need to. But basically what he's saying is, and correct me if I'm wrong here, you want to take this and flip them. Is that correct? Does everybody understand that? Perfect. All right, is there a second to that motion?
Second.
There is a second. Unless anyone has an amendment to that, you want to amend his amendment?
Yes.
Okay.
I'd like to amend his amendment to make the discussion on election results 1 hour instead of 30 minutes.
Okay. So we're going to flip these two and change this 30 minutes to 1 hour, and the other times will update going down with how long we're going to update. Does everybody understand that amendment to the amendment? Yes.
I'd like to amend the amendment.
We're too deep. We can't do any more. So, yes.
Can we make that a little bit larger?
Yes, we can. We can do that.
Well, I can't read yours. But I'm reading
Can I amend my amendment? Restate my amendment.
What are you trying to do?
I want to take 30 minutes out of lunch and start that hour earlier.
Does anyone object to changing the amendment? I hear no objection. Okay, we're good. All right. So I'm gonna read. I'm sorry. Was there an objection?
Objection.
Yes. Okay, there is an objection. So we're gonna go through this, and then if we need to change that later, we can. Okay. So I'm gonna restate it just for everybody's clarity. We're taking this item and this item. We're flipping them. We're increasing this time to an hour. And once that time is increased to an hour, everything will push down into the day. So, if everybody's clear on the motion, we can start with the amendment to the amendment to change it to 1 hour.
And starting, just for the sake of clarity, starting at 1 p.m.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it starts at.
No objection.
Oh,
Yeah. No. Okay.
You're going to
So-
have to make another amendment.
Yeah. Okay. So. Yes.
I have a request for information.
Yes.
Are these motions relating to filling the SLEC committees actually for us to fill the committees?
So the motion, there could be a motion to do that, but the motion that I have put forward on the Ignite is to allow us to do it over a 4-week period using the forums. So it's just going to enable us to do it over the next 4 weeks. So that said, all in favor of extending this item to an hour, raise your hand. All opposed? That's close. All in favor, raise your hand. I think, no, that passes. But I'm going to do opposed in case there was some opposed who weren't raising their hand earlier. Opposed? That passes. Okay, so we are changing it to an hour. Now we will move to the amendment to swap this item, which is now an hour, with this item. All in favor?
I'd like to start against debate.
Yes. Yes. Before you do that, do you want to speak in favor?
Yes, I will speak in favor of that. The reason I want to do election results is because, of course, what we do as a party is run people for office and analyzing where we are and just kind of get a feel for the results compared to past years and have a little bit of a discussion about just brainstorming about where we might go, I think is the most important thing that we can do today, right here after the election. And I want to make sure we get to it, and that's why I'm moving it up.
Okay. Mr. Martinez.
Sir, the purpose of this body is to do things like fill these committees, grow the party, pass budgets. That's what we're here to do. We're not here to run autopsies on campaigns. Let the campaigns run campaigns. We don't run campaigns. That's not our business. So I'm speaking against this motion and asking this body, please do not push the most important thing we can do today, which is actually get a motion forward to start filling these committees and move forward with 2018, 20 through 2020 cycle. We need to get to work, guys. We can't just sit here and debate the past. So if we push this item down, the likelihood that we won't get to it is very high. Whereas the debates can go further down. Yes, it's important that we debate, but let's push that to one of the last things we do today. So that's I'm just asking the body to please get to work.
Okay. Are you to speak in favor?
I'd like to speak in favor.
Yes, please. I'm gonna check something
I
while you
think
do
it's
that.
important that we pass this so we have time to discuss the implications of the election, not to go back and do a postmortem and say, well, so-and-so should have said something better, but to look at it in a general way so that we might improve in the future. There are some basic structural things that we might be able to do that I think are worthy of your attention as a select group to improve our party's chances of winning. Because unless I made a mistake, you look at these results, there wasn't one W in this whole damn thing. And unless we want to be a debating society, I think it's important that we take the time to discuss what to do that we might actually be able to win sometime.
Anyone to speak against? Yeah, if you want to. Ms. Gregory.
Is it appropriate to make a motion to amend?
We are only one deep at this point, so if you want to make a motion to amend, you can.
I would like to make a motion to amend and I'd like to speak to it.
Yes. What's your motion first?
Okay, so, I believe that it is appropriate and right that we review these results.
Before you start debating it, can you just state
The
the motion?
motion is going to be that we postpone discussing this until the next SLEC meeting.
Postpone discussing the amendment or
The
postpone
the
discussing
discussion
this?
of election results.
That's going to be a different motion than rearranging the agenda, but we can definitely recognize that once we dispense with this.
So I have to wait on that one?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
All right, anyone to speak against?
Well, can I speak against then?
I'm going to come over here to this conference.
I think that many of us in our counties have already done some pretty detailed reports and discussed these things, and that's really where these elections are run and where the work is actually done. Our job as select representatives is to have budgets and to get these administrative things done, so I agree that we should be getting our work done. If we want to continue discussing after that, that's fine, but I would very much encourage that people take care of this in their counties, and their county has an excellent report. Would you like to take a look at it and use it in your own county?
Mr.
I'd like to speak in favor. Maintaining ballot access is an important thing for this body to consider. And reviewing these election results are the way that we see where we are in maintaining that ballot access. So unless we have a look at that, unless we discuss that, we're putting ballot access and putting it off and deciding that that's not an important thing for us. And I think that would be foolish.
I've got a request for information.
Request for information.
As it relates to the motion to filling the SLEC committees, I couldn't find for the life of me that we had any access to any of the applications that have been put forward for those positions. There was no topic on it in the forum, in the SLEC thing. Are we not allowed to see the applications of every person that stepped forward?
Absolutely, and we have them in a spreadsheet, and
Right, but how can we be expected to vote on the day if we're not even
So-
we're giving any time to go over?
so the motion that I'm presenting, now somebody may present a different motion, is that it will be done in the forums over a 4-week period, and I will upload those before we do any voting. So there will
So
be.
I didn't miss anything. We
No.
haven't had access to them yet at
No,
all.
you're correct. You're correct.
They're on Ignite.
They're on Ignite?
Yes.
All right. So Are you to speak against this amendment?
I was gonna call for every other day.
Second.
Motion to call the question.
Point of order.
Who called the question?
Recognize him.
Yes, I did.
Who called it?
Sean Jones, I believe, right?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, yeah. I was saying for the clarification of the secretary. Yeah. Okay. A motion's been made to call the question. Is there a second? Is there objection? I hear no objection. We can proceed to a vote on whether to make this an hour and swap them. All in favor of making this an hour and swapping them, raise your hand. All opposed? I think that's failed. All in favor, raise your hand. 1, lower your hand as counting. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 in favor. All opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, lower your hand. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Motion fails. Mr. Glass?
I move that we make these soft times.
Okay. Is there a second? There's a second. There's objection. Do we need to debate or can we proceed to a vote? Let's debate then. Mr. Glass?
I think we're more efficient when we don't debate each other about whether to extend time or not. And I think it works. So I just want to go to what's been working for the last 2 years.
Anyone to speak against? Ms. Wilford?
We used hard times last time, and on the items where we needed to extend time because there was still more debate to be had, we didn't have trouble getting that time extended. It's worked well for us in the past, and I think we should stick with hard times.
In favor. I'd just like to remind the body that the last time we did this, the last meeting, we spent 15 minutes debating on extending 5 minutes, 20 minutes on extending 10 minutes. So seriously, if we don't go with soft times, then can we all agree not to ask for extensions for the rest of the day? And if you're not willing to do that, then vote for soft times. But I don't want to spend 30 minutes debating on a 5-minute extension.
All right. Anyone else to speak?
Can I speak in favor?
Yes, if there's no one else to speak, yes.
Yeah, the spirit of Robert's rules is to allow everyone to speak and everyone to be heard. In previous meetings, hard times have been used to disallow discussion. I think it's outside of the spirit of Robert's rules, and I think it's outside of the spirit of this body.
All right. Anyone else to speak? All right. We can proceed to a vote on soft or hard times. All in favor of making it soft time. So if you want soft times, raise your hand. All opposed, raise your hand. Motion carries. So these will be soft times. Let me make that change really quick. Ms. Scripter?
I'd like to make a motion.
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to remove that particular agenda item for discussing the election results, at least an hour scheduled for next time, since an hour didn't pass this time, so that together the different candidates along with the IT department can create actual reports that we will be able to review next cycle so that we can redo this work. That's my only opposition to doing this right now because we're not fully prepared.
Okay. So I'm going to restate that. Tell me if I got it right. You want to extend this to an hour, remove it from this agenda, and have it come up automatically on the next agenda. Is that correct?
Yes.
There's a second. Do we need debate on this?
Yes.
Yeah, we do. Okay, do you want to speak to your motion?
I spoke to it.
Okay, anyone to speak against? Please.
Either today or sometime in the 4 weeks of December, or hopefully sometime in the 4 weeks of January, because I don't plan on working in December. We're going to be picking committees that actually will affect elections in the future. It might be nice to have some of that election information when we're deciding what we want for committees and people on the committees and what we want them to do. So I would kind of like to discuss that before we choose our committees rather than after it's already done.
Before I move on, I'm going to make a quick announcement to the body. We've actually, I'm going to phrase this very carefully. Per the agenda, run out of time on this, but since we don't have an agenda adopted and we've agreed on soft times, I'm going to go ahead and let it continue. I just want to give you the information that has expired. And I'm going to go to Ms. Wilford.
I think that we can have a much more robust discussion about this if we have some discussion on the forum. We can put our heads together and do it way more effectively than in 1 hour at a SLEC meeting. And then when we come to the next meeting, we can actually be prepared to take action on some of the items we've been discussing. And as far as it relates to committees, if the motion that has been proposed passes, we'll have 3 weeks for people to continue to submit applications to be on the committees, during which time we have plenty of opportunity on the forum to discuss the election results and everybody's analyses of them.
Mr. Turner.
I'd like to amend the motion.
Okay.
My amendment would be that we do not vote on filling any committee until we've had at least 1 hour of discussion on election results.
That's not going to be germane to this because this is only dealing with the election results. So, and you're kind of extending that to the other agenda items. So,
Yes.
okay. So I'm going to say it's not germane. Okay. Ms. Glass.
I would move to amend the motion that we work through lunch, and during that lunch hour here in session, we have a discussion of election results.
Okay, so your amendment is, this will still come off the business agenda, but it will be a topic to discuss in this lunch period. Is that correct?
I think it's on the business agenda. I don't.
So it will be in business during lunch, is what you're saying. Okay, I want to make sure I'm clear. So what her amendment seeks to do is to take this, move it to this lunch slot. The lunch slot will be in session, and we will have it then.
I don't think session is that important because we're not going to make any motions. But I think just to keep it moving, just say we are.
So we'll be out of session. We'll still be in a break, but it will be in this slot. Is that correct? I just need to know whether we're going to be in session or not. Okay, cool. Point of information, yes.
Is there some provision for us eating in here?
That I don't know. We brought cupcakes and it didn't seem to mind. So are you asking, are we allowed to, or are you asking, have arrangements been made?
I had planned to go out and find some lunch somewhere.
I think it's basically asking if we're expected to stay here during lunch, are we going to be allowed to eat?
So I guess there's 3 points here to address. One is I have no idea on hotel policies, but I don't think they'll lie from my general dealings with them. 2 is, to my knowledge, no arrangements have been made for lunch. And 3 is the expectations that's going to be dependent on you, because we won't be in session, so it's not like a motion's going to pass. We don't need your attendance, but if it's something you care about, I would recommend staying.
If I can speak to that information about lunch.
Yeah, sure, I'll learn.
There are lots of fast food places within 5 miles of here, 5 minutes. So we could take a break and people could do whatever they want and we could come back and eat our lunch and have a lunch.
Okay. So, Ms. Wilford.
Point of information.
Point of information, yes.
Is the amendment currently that we would be in session or that we would not be in session?
That we would not be in session.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Okay, is there any more? Ms. Martinez?
Yeah, I'd like to speak in favor to that.
Okay.
So I just want to say that's appropriate. I think that this body can deliberate, talk about things without taking up session time, and we can educate ourselves and grow a network, and I think it's a good idea to do it over lunch. I think that's appropriate.
Okay.
So this would not be in session?
Would not be in session,
Oh, okay.
yes. All right. Is there anything else before we proceed to a vote? Yes.
Would you be so kind as to sum up what we're voting on?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So this discussion on election results will be extended in time and will be moved to this lunch slot. So when lunch comes, we will move to a discussion on election results where we will not be in session. Does that clarify everything for you?
And it will no longer be.
Yes, it's moving from there and going here. All right. With that, yes.
For information, is it possible, would it be possible for a body out of session to go into session before the agenda
No, we cannot come back. So I expect at the beginning of lunch, we will move to recess until lunch, and that motion will be to recess until 1:30, and we can't come back until that time. It's impossible. All right, with all that said, I see no one else seeking to be recognized. We proceed to a vote. All in favor of this amendment, raise your hand. All opposed? It carries. Okay. I think we're to if there's no one seeking to be recognized, I think we're to the main motion on actually adopting the agenda. All right.
Well, that was a substitute motion to Liz's motion, so now we have to pass.
Oh, you're right. That was an amendment to Liz's motion. Okay, so we passed the change. Now to pass the amendment. All in favor of the new amendment, raise your hand. Okay, sorry. Let me clarify. Liz made an amendment. Ms. Glass made a substitute. So we just agreed to substitute Liz's amendment with hers. Now we have to actually adopt it. Okay.
So we're voting for what we just voted for real this time.
Yes, for real this time. All in favor of adopting the amendment, raise your hand. All opposed? It also carries. All right. I'll make the changes momentarily, but I don't see anyone else seeking to be recognized, so we can.
As point of information on the amicus brief, is anybody gonna make a motion about that?
That's a good question. Is anyone going to make does anyone plan to make a motion on that? I've put information on the forum as to what they're seeking.
If not, I move to delete it from the agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Does anyone object? There is objection. Okay. Do we want to have discussion on this?
I have a question.
I'm going to go to this question real quick.
Were you planning to talk about it, or was someone planning to talk about it? I thought that was.
So I'm here to provide information. I'm going to say 95% of our interaction has been through email, and that information has been uploaded to the forum. But I can answer any other questions if there were further questions on it, to the best of my ability, I'll say. But y'all have 95% of the information I have. So is there anyone else seeking to be recognized? I see. Yes.
Yes, this may be worthy of discussion in relation to our coalition partners. They may not be interested in.
Oh, and being a coalition partner?
Well, so we have two coalition partners that are also interested in protecting electoral choice. So it seems as though there may be coming together.
I think I'm not sure what the question is here, but I think you're making a point that two of our coalition partners are on this amicus brief? No, okay.
They may be interested in whether or not we will participate or use this. If we will acknowledge this as part of what we're going to do, what we're going to support in the legislative session.
I'm going to take that as debate, just saying that there may be coalition partners who are interested in this.
I'm speaking in favor for us.
Yes.
On the agenda.
Okay, you're speaking against the motion, okay. Ms. Scripter. Call the question. Any objection to calling the question?
Just so we're
Yeah.
sure about this, is there anything going to be discussed if you have this that has not already been made available for us?
I can't think of anything. I have had 2 phone conversations, and most of it was, here's a summary of what we're doing. I'll send you an email with further information. Those emails have been put up. I can't think of anything that was said that wasn't in the
So this is just
email.
rehashing stuff that we've already.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Point of information.
Point of information.
In the package that we did in the letter, it said the deadline was in November, which is passed. So is it too late for us to join as an amicus in this issue?
I believe that's false and outdated. So he sent me something a while back. I have gotten much more recent calls. In fact, one was a week ago, I think. And at which time I told him that we were having this. Are you calling to order that about your calling the question?
Yeah,
A point of
we moved into like full-on discussion now. I mean, that's what that 20 minutes is for.
We have 20 minutes allotted at 11:40.
I'm going to answer this question. I think this is a proper point of information on this. To your question, a week ago, I informed him that we had this meeting today, and it didn't seem to be a problem when I informed him. So I think that date is probably from an old email. Yes.
Point of information, I'm lost. Probably my fault. What is it we're getting ready to vote on?
Yes, so first we're going to vote on calling the question, but after, if that happens, we are voting on deleting this item.
Oh, voting on deleting.
Deleting it. Okay, all that said, I do believe I heard a second on calling the question. Is there objection to calling the question?
Objection.
There's objection. All in favor of calling the question, raise your hand. All opposed? Carries. All in favor of deleting this item, raise your hand. All opposed? That also carries. Okay. It did get deleted. Okay. Are we ready to proceed with a vote on adopting the agenda as amended? Okay. Do you want me to make those changes first? Okay, if y'all will stand at ease while I get that done. In fact, I'm going to remind y'all of the Wi-Fi password while I do it.
Request for information, we can change that.
Absolutely. All right. I've made the changes on the screen with one exception, and so I'm going to ask you to use your imagination a bit. I have not updated all these times as they proceed, but the items and the amount of time we're recommending for them are all listed correctly. So take a look at that, make sure you understand it, and then we can go into adoption. With that said, we'll proceed with a vote. All in favor of adopting this agenda, raise your hand. All opposed? Motion carries. Yes.
Point of information,
Yes.
you have discussion of election results, that's also lunch and outside of the body, right?
Yeah, so this discussion of election results will be during the lunch slot, and it will be out of session.
Okay,
So,
you just want to note.
yeah, I can do that real quick. That's a fair point.
I mean,
Okay. I'm going to say this is our final agenda. Okay, we got that. All right. Next we have adopt previous meetings minutes. Mr. Johnson.
Request for information.
Yes, request for information.
On this end of this brief situation, since we decided as a body that we didn't want to talk about it today, does that mean we're done with the possibility of joining them?
An online vote could be taken, or maybe at the next meeting. There's a lot of factors at play there, so I can't really give you a straight
I'd like
answer.
to talk to you about that, because I've read most of the amicus briefing. It's my understanding that this is basically a fight against the state for their control over how we run our conventions.
Let's discuss that later, because I think we're getting a little into debate now, but I can talk
I
to you
just want
later.
to make sure we can revisit it once people have actually read it.
Yeah. That said, Mr. Johnson.
Hello. I've been driving all over Tyler because I got bad directions. Anyway, I posted the minutes very late. If you don't want to vote on them today, I wouldn't blame you.
All right. Mr. Glass.
I have two amendments to the minutes.
Okay.
What's the proper process? Do I just start making them?
I would say, first, to keep this clean, and I'll recognize you twice in a row, even though it's unorthodox, move these minutes and then move the amendment.
I move we adopt these minutes.
Is there a second? Here's a second. Mr. Glass?
Okay, now I have two amendments. Should I do what sequentially?
So here would be what I would say. If you think they're uncontroversial, just move them together.
Okay,
If you think that there maybe one will entangle the other, I would do them separately.
I'll do them separately.
Okay.
Just to be safe. The first one is when it talked about our attorney, the attorney for the lawsuit.
I'm gonna
Oliver.
Yes, go ahead.
It said that he appeared by telephone, that he appeared in person. And I just think we need to strike by telephone
You're right.
in person.
You're right.
Yes, I see that. It's under the lawsuit section. Hopefully this keeps. Well, there we go. So the first one is reported by telephone to just strike
Yeah, just strike by telephone.
by telephone. All right, is there a second to that?
Second.
Is there objection? Hearing no objection, the amendment passes.
All right, keep it on that page. All right, the next one I want to do is the last sentence there. It said Tom Glass moved to withdraw from the proposed lawsuit. The motion failed. Here's what I want to, that first sentence, I want to replace it with this. Tom Glass's motion to withdraw from a prior meeting withdraw from the lawsuit. I'm about to hand this to Gary. All right, Tom Glass's motion to withdraw from the lawsuit from a prior meeting, which had been postponed to this meeting, was taken up, period. And then the next sentence remains, the motion failed.
Okay. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. That is my recollection as well. Yes.
Sorry, go ahead with it.
Okay. Is there a second? Okay. Do you need to be recognized for anything?
After the amendment.
Okay. Is there any objection to the amendment? Hearing no objection, the motion passes. But yes.
I would like to postpone consideration of minutes for at least 2 weeks.
Okay. To be taken up on the forum or at the next meeting?
That's up to the body. I just want time.
So to be postponed for a minimum of 2 weeks. It would probably be easier if we just moved to.
Next slide.
I'm sorry?
I'm sorry.
Oh, it would probably be easier if we just moved to table, and
Okay,
then we can just take it up
yeah,
when we want.
That's fine.
Okay, motion to table the motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second? Yes. Oh, you second. Is there objection?
Yeah.
There's objection.
Just simply because I would like to understand the reason why.
Do you want to?
Why
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure, I can. I don't suspect I'm gonna have any problems with the minutes, but the rules basically say we're supposed to be getting these 30 days up to 30 days after the meeting, and that gives us a chance to review them and read them, because these are the official record of our meeting. So I think we should have time to review them and look over them. And these were put somewhere last night or this morning, I'm not sure. And I don't think this is controversial, I just think it's proper procedure to actually have that time to do that. And just give us a chance to look at them. They're our official record, but I'm just being technical.
Thanks.
Yes.
Yeah, I would drop my attorney.
And I have no objection to what you're saying. I think that's right.
Can we maintain them with Tom's changes?
Yeah. So when we table something, it is tabled as it was, and when we take it from the table, it will be taken from the table as it was. So we'll just take that motion from the table.
So we don't have to reconsider.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, it said, is there any objection to tabling? I hear no objection, so this is tabled. I'll go ahead and close that.
John,
Yes.
while we're sort of in the agenda items,
Yes.
I would very politely request to you, Gary, that we get these in the 30-day window. I think it just works better and the chair too, because I know motions come up that the chair might need reminder on. So, thank you.
All right. If there's nothing else, we can move on to officer reports, and I'll be up. All right. I hear nothing else. All right. So I don't expect this to be long, and I'm going to give ample time for Q&A if anyone has any. But I just want to give a quick recap over what's been going on over the last little bit. We've actually had a little bit longer period between these last two meetings. Since then, as I'm sure everybody in the room knows, we had an election and we maintained ballot access. So, a big relief off my shoulders. I get to leave and leave the party with ballot access. It weighed on me. That said, since then we've started updating our branding as passed in the previous meeting. I also have a little bit of bad news in an item I took up, and that is the hiring of staff in West Benedict. A lot of that's kind of fallen through the cracks. Now that is not to necessarily say that the option's still out there. I actually don't know his current status. But with other stuff going on, the election part of it, and part of it some personal stuff. As many of you know, I'm in the process of moving into the DFW area. Things in my life just kind of coalesced in a way that I didn't have time to do the proper fundraising, nor to kind of push that along the way it needed to get pushed along. So it just kind of fell sour. So I don't know the current status of where West is. That may still be an option, and it may still be something we can pick up, as well as any other candidates. Because one of the explicit things we talked about when we talked about that was open it up to anybody, and there's just not been much work done on that. So that is my failure, and I take full responsibility on that. All that said, we have had a few things come through. One of them we kind of took off this, but as has been pointed out, we can bring up later, is we've been asked to file an amicus brief. And so I've kind of pushed that out. Also, on the topic of the lawsuit, I called Oliver, gosh, it was just before the election, so I'm not going to do the calculus on how many weeks back that was, but I called him just before the election, actually, to ask him about another issue that had kind of come up with the election. I don't know how many of you are aware, but the Secretary of State was listing candidates all the way down to the county level for the Republicans and Democrats, and was not listing our candidates. Now, when I first looked at this, I recalled only our statewide candidates being listed. Later on, somebody told me that more candidates were listed. I went and checked, and there were. But I remember pretty strongly only statewide being listed. So I'm thinking maybe they went back and made some changes and went all the way down to like state legislature. But still, it's kind of stacking the system against us that our candidates aren't listed there. I got calls from people asking why we weren't running any candidates because they weren't on Secretary of State's websites. One of which is a reporter. And I called the Secretary of State about this on a couple occasions to ask what the deal is, and their explanation to me, and I read the code, and I didn't read this, but their lawyers read it this way, is that a change in election code required them to list those candidates, and is specifically in the section that talks about primary parties. And because of that, they have a requirement for the primary parties that is not outlined in election code for us, so they can't list us, and so we need to take that up with the legislature. Now, the way I read that code is it requires them to list the primary parties, but nothing excludes them from listing us. So that's a difference of my opinion and their lawyer's opinion, but it's the way they're reading it, and there's not a lot we can do except change the legislature or sue them. I mean, other than that, they're going to do what they're going to do.
Or both.
Or both. So I contacted, I contacted Oliver to see if this could be included in our complaint, and he seemed optimistic that it was within the scope of their lawsuit. And he also told me that he had the complaint written up. He was given to their partner law firm, and they should have it back any moment now. When he did, he'd send it to all the plaintiffs, and I could present it to you guys, and that I haven't received that yet. So that's kind of where that's sitting now. I wish I had more thorough news for you, but that's what I have right now. 1 second, I'll come to questions at the end. Actually, very soon. So with all that said, that's kind of the main things that I've been involved in and everything. So this time I can't entertain questions. Mr.
I
President.
just wanted to say that this, what you experience is completely consistent with their behavior towards convention parties at the 2017 not, but on the Secretary of State, there's all 510 county chairs of the primary parties there, and we were treated less than second-class citizens, so it's consistent, just now.
Anyone else have any questions? Yes.
This is not related to things that you brought up already. I expressed a concern about 2 months ago when our social media director quit out of nowhere. And my concern was simply, what was his CV, what was his resume, what was applied for his job. I'm having a growing concern that we are putting people in positions in this party who, this is entry level for them. This is the first time they have it on their CV or resume. I'm letting you know my intention, as well as the entire body, that when the department reports are filed, I will ask each individual there what qualifies them for that position. And just so we're clear that this is not anything about me against anybody, I will ask the scripter. I've heard the scripter's CV. She is incredibly impressive. Okay, she's perfect for that job. But I'll still ask her to list her qualifications for it, as well as the other folks up there. I want to make sure that we're not bringing in people who have no experience in these roles, and especially that we're not bypassing people who are extremely qualified for these positions.
Yeah. I do want to speak to that and kind of give you the body, I'll say, my perspective on that. So we find ourselves teetering on an interesting set of scales in regard to that issue, because I completely agree with your concerns. We do end up putting people in positions who are underqualified. I have no doubt of that. And in fact, there have been a couple interviews I've done where I have called back the department head, and there are people in this room who can attest to this, and said, look, they're passionate. They seem to understand the libertarian message. They have some passing experience with it and some interest in it, but I don't know if they're really qualified. And quite often I'll go to them and I'll say, these are my concerns. However, this is your department, and I largely let the departments go unless I see something egregious. And I say, do you want this person? I'm not going to block them. I haven't seen anything egregious, but these are my concerns. And they'll come to me and say yes or no, and I'll kind of go from there. The other side of that same coin is we have many positions that are not filled right now. In fact, I think one of the most important ones, the development department, has not been filled in my entire tenure on this body since paid staff. Paid staff, I think you could argue, did a lot of that development role, but nobody stepped forward for that. I've asked people, I've even gone specifically to great volunteers we've had and said, do you want to go to this department? And a lot of times they'll say, I don't really feel comfortable calling people up and asking for money and this and that. It's a really important thing that we need to be doing. So we have both a grossly underfilled volunteer group, and we have people who aren't quite qualified who are saying, I can take this position. And it does present an interesting problem. Do I pass over the people who want to do the work and wait for that perfect qualified candidate? Or do I accept them and maybe that perfect qualified candidate never applies because the role is filled? And this is something I have struggled with. And I don't know that I've done the right thing, and I don't know that I have all the answers, but it is kind of the debate I constantly have myself. So I do completely understand your concerns, and I appreciate that you're raising this question, and beyond doing my best, I don't really know what the best answer to this problem is. So hopefully that addresses it.
Chair. Is it not true that you can just lots of repetitious positions under the director, so that if one is filled, there's still others to be filled?
So with some positions, yes, some positions, no. Many of our positions, that's the case for. So for instance, with development department, with our county department, those positions are set up so we don't have a county coordinator, we have county coordinators. Now at the moment, we have one excellent county coordinator, Mr. McKinnon. But if he's even had discussion with his director, Ms. Wilford, about if we start getting as many counties as we want, it's probably going to be an overwhelming task for him, and he wants to bring in other county coordinators to kind of split the counties up, maybe by region or something. Maybe by rural and urban, you know, we've had discussion on how that split would go. But So yeah, so to answer your question, many of those positions can be repetitious. Yes.
Just to tag on, I would say bringing up a problem without offering possible solutions. Something that we may want to consider is there seems to be a lot more communication this session with our own constituents, especially now that we have Facebook groups for SDs and all this other stuff. Maybe where we post these open positions, if you're in a vacuum of your own, you don't have the resources that all of us have. So if you can see open positions and qualifications and basically all that stuff, we can post it back to our SDs and look for volunteers. The second possible solution, and I would love to get some opinions on this later on, is even though these positions might require a lot of time, some of us couldn't do that, but have the expertise to maybe be on a consulting board for that person. So if you have somebody who is beginning in that career path, we might have people who have expertise in there, but can't donate the required time to do that job. And so you have a pool of people that they can go back to and get information.
Fair enough, fair enough. Mr. Glass.
One thing I'd like to, I know you've been busy, but I'd like to ask to continue when you can, putting up new applications for county chairs. When we hear about resignations off SLEC, get them off the website and get them to and make sure we're notified on the forums, that sort of thing. Also, I'd like to see the resumes coming out about people who have applied for these positions put up on the forum. I have heard, and so that's one topic. It's more of a request and understanding of where you are in your life. So, the second thing is, I have heard that Corey Watkins has applied to be our legislative coordinator. And I just, if it's true, I'll let you respond, but let me just make one statement to you. If true, I'm adamantly opposed to that, primarily because that's the man that caused panic buttons to be put into the legislative session. It would be a terrible thing for the Libertarian Party to take the person with that reputation at the legislature and make him our representative to the legislature. And if he's appointed there, I will do some sort of action to remove him based on SLEC, and I just want to let you know that.
Fair enough, thank you. I think that did happen a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but your information is well received, so thank you. I saw Mr. Martinez.
John, thank you for your update, and I just want to also thank you. I know you just stated that you're not seeking re-election, so I have a question for you.
Yes.
In that spirit, sir, as you look back, you mentioned paid staff in your statement. As you look back on the tenure, that was a decision that we made 4 years ago to do away with paid staff. And I guess my question to you is, maybe your replacements in this room, maybe future selectmen rep in this room in the next session. What are your thoughts on the party maybe going back to paid staff? Do you regret that decision? Do you think it was the right thing at the time, but do you wish it could be different? I guess I just want to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, so this is one that I've kind of tossed and turned around. So at the time, whenever we let the staff go, I thought it was the right decision. And I don't disagree with my decision then, mostly because at the time I was treasurer and I was looking at the numbers. And I saw where our finances were going. And since then it's a hard thing to talk about turning finances around because that can mean a lot of things. So I guess I'll be more specific and say we are in the black and we are continuing in the black and we are moving much slower than we were with paid staff. So is that, where's the balance on that? And now I've had both experience with paid staff and without. I think we do need paid staff. I think it's a critical thing for us to have. However, if we don't make changes to how we do it from how we did it last time, we will be right back here in 10 years having the same discussion. So we have got to figure out the problems we have financially, and then balance that with our need to keep marching forward, or else we're going to continue in the cycle. So I do think we need paid staff, but there need to be fundamental changes. I think the answer is in pay structure and focus. I've heard other people say other things, and I'm fine with that, but we can't keep doing what we've done. Does that answer your question? Do you know who was... I'll go over here. This group.
I just have a quick question, comment on the resumes being shared. And I want your feedback on this too, because as a privacy advocate, I'm a little concerned about sharing resumes that I get for IT department positions with the entire SLEC body without first asking permission of the applicant. Because I think that their expectation is not that 50+ people in the Libertarian Party are going to be looking at their application, at least their resume with all of their information. So I just like us to, I mean, yes, we need to be looking at this, but maybe put that focus on the department heads and trust them to look at the resumes and not require that from you.
I think Anna has something to add, and as the person uploads it, I'm gonna let her respond real quick.
So, just kind of following what Bruce was already saying, we are already uploading those applications with the resumes attached to Ignite. I've heard several people in the body asking for updates on the forum today rather than on Ignite. I'm happy to accommodate that. As it stands, those resumes are available because it is just a link on their application. If there is a significant security concern, then maybe we take the option to upload the resume off the application, and once they're contacted about filling the position, we ask them for their resume if they have one they want to share.
I'm gonna respond really quickly, and then I'm gonna go to Ms. Thomas, because he's been waiting very patiently. So as far as security and privacy concerns go, I think this is maybe a discussion we do need to have, and maybe on the forums would be the best place to do that. However, just to give my thoughts, to me, and maybe it's different in different businesses, but a resume is kind of an outward and forward-facing document. It's kind of thing you mass email when you're looking for a job. I've even seen some creative people stand out on a street corner with a sign that says, "Need a job," and hand out resumes, you know? Maybe it's different in different sectors, and maybe different people have different views, but that's been kind of the way I've treated it, is this is your public face. Usually curtailed to the specific job you're applying for, but still considered public. So, but yes, we can have a discussion on how that goes. And Mr. Thomas, please.
I just wanted to let the body know that the position, the volunteer positions are on our website, and shows which open positions are on there. So any of us can go on our website and look and see what you're filled and what you're unfilled. And just as a comment, at least this body's oversight committee is one of its functions. And if someone has a problem with one of the volunteer positions, this body can do something about it. Of course, the department heads can do something about it. We can fire people if we need to, which is I think a good thing. It's why we have our volunteer structure. And I would just like to point out that my same concern about that Scott mentioned about our department, I would extend to some of our past. Carrie's been doing a good job. I'm not commenting on Carrie, but some of our county chairs get these positions and then they stop responding, which I think has gotten a lot better. But Anastasia will probably talk about that later.
So I am going to recognize Anastasia, but before I do, I am going to ask for some brevity at this point. We are actually 5 minutes into where Mr. Harris's report should have been, so you know, maybe we just don't want to berate him with questions later, but I think he deserves a chance to get some. Just feel free.
Job descriptions are also on Ignite, and I believe, and I'm double checking now, I believe also accessible on the website.
Thank you. If there's nothing else, thank you. Mr. Harris, your turn.
All right, no more lines.
Is it in Ignite or? Okay, I can pull it up. Oh, where's my mouse? There it is. Oh, I'm not seeing it. I'll look over here. My computer synced, so maybe lagging when I'm going to the actual online portals.
Yes.
I'll just brag on this internet, and here we go. Tyler. Oh, there's all kinds of stuff. DC report. Here we go.
So I have a question.
1 second, but is it a question for me or?
Just a general show of hands of who on the body has access to Ignite or who is.
Who doesn't have access?
Doesn't have access to Ignite. So if you want to ask that question.
Yeah.
Show of hands.
Actually, I have a spreadsheet of who does and doesn't. If you just want to look at it, I think about 60 to 70% of the body has it. So.
Second term, still don't have access.
I'm sorry.
Second term, still don't have access.
Second. Oh,
This is my
you don't.
second term on SLEC.
Okay.
Still don't have access.
I can definitely get with that. I'll go ahead and ask. Who on this body does not have access to Ignite? Okay. So I'm seeing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If you want access to Ignite, send an email to chair. I will, many of you, I'm sure we already have it. I will either send you NDA or check that we have one, depending on how the circumstances go. And then I will add your access and you'll get an email. And send it from the email that you want your login to be for Ignite. So, and I will use that email. Okay. With that said,
The last slide first.
the last slide first.
Changing the order. All right, so since the department heads have their own presentations to do later, I'm just gonna do a really high level overview. First thing I wanna talk about is that we are coordinating, better than we have in the past. During the election cycle, we kind of let the elections and the campaigns take the staff that they needed, and I stopped recruiting during that time because the campaigns are most important. Since the election season has stopped, we have started our recruiting efforts again to get some of those positions filled. And we are all united on the message and what our purpose is during the legislative session part of this term. So at the PR department, of course, our focus has switched on promoting our candidates to getting ready for the legislative session. We're talking about our principles, our platform, and really going out there, trying to get outside of our libertarian bubble and our echo chamber and reach people who are not libertarians. I think that's something that the election results indicate that we have not done a great job at thus far. The political action department, same shift. Our whole focus was on promoting candidates. Now it's on getting ready for the legislative session. And the director, Renee, is going to actually be speaking for the director on that later. Operations, we have membership, IT, and counties. We have some open spots, but most of our positions on each of these departments has now been filled. You go to the next step.
Previous slide or first slide?
Previous slide.
Okay.
So my focus and the way I'm looking at my departments, the three that roll up to me, is that you, the SLEC reps, and the county chairs throughout the state are most important. If we're going to grow as a party, it's not going to be the state party that grows the party. It's going to be at the local level, precinct meetings and county meetings, and the collective growth will roll up to the state. But we're not staffed. We are not the experts in what's going on in your communities. That really depends upon the county chairs and the other officers in each county. So we have some great opportunities coming up. Everybody knows the ballot access, or one punch straight ticket voting goes away in 2020. That down ballot impact is going to be significant for us. The way we make it more significant for us is that we target races that are not three-way races. Texans for Voters' Choice did a great job this election cycle of pointing out each and every state house and state rep, state house and state senate election that was unopposed. And there were
way too many. Texas for voters' choice. So,
Vaccine choice.
voters' choice.
Oh, voters' choice.
Yeah, Texas for voters' choice. They had a great online campaign that was really spread far and wide on Instagram, where they had a map of Texas with the star in that House district or Senate district that said 22 years in office, still unopposed. Wow. And it happened, it was seat after seat. That's going to be our biggest opportunity, in my humble opinion, to see growth once that straight ticket, one punch voting goes away. We have to start now getting candidates ready for those races. And it happens at the local level. City council races, JP, county commissioner, and before you even consider running for one of those seats, you need to know what's happening in your city. And I'm not going to say you, I'm talking about all of us and everyone in your county. Because we have a lot of really passionate, active activists who don't know how their city operates. I'll say that again. We have a lot of really passionate and active activists who do not know how their cities operate. And you understand and you learn that information by getting involved, going to the city council meetings, getting on the boards and commissions. Many of you may not realize you don't have to be elected to a board or commission position. You're appointed by the city council. And most cities have, just like we do at the state level, positions that they can't fill because they don't have enough applicants. So it doesn't matter if you're a libertarian, Republican, or Democrat. If you go and you're involved and you apply, chances are you can get on a board or commission. And that will do a number of things for us. It gets our people's name recognition in their communities. They start to articulate libertarian principles. I served on a bond committee. I don't like public debt. But I was put on that committee by the city council because they knew I would be not a roadblock, but a speed bump. Because I wasn't going to be able to stop everything. But they didn't want it to be swollen with crap. So they put me on that board to stop it. So that's the sort of thing I'm talking about. You build your base of support. You get campaign experience once you decide to run for city council or JP or county commissioner. And we can get some wins. We have the most wins nationwide at the local level. And that's where we're going to do it here. Within the state of Texas, local is where we can win. And once we have those wins, then our donors are donating to winners. And we're not going to be able to convince our donors that we can win elections until we start winning elections. We can't tell them we're going to win. We have to show them that we can win. And we can win at the local level, especially after 2020 when that straight ticket one punch voting goes away. That's my report. I'll field questions.
First of all, it's so refreshing from last term to this term that we're talking about winning elections and supporting candidates and everything. So wonderful. Body's doing that. Something I would also add, and you have some great observations as far as city council and all these other things. I would also recommend for us to take back to our potential candidates, chamber of commerces in your area. A individual chamber of commerce membership is under about $200 on average if you're just an individual. Every chamber has committees. I personally sit on 2 committees, one for education, one for safety. Those are where you all to get known. You go to chamber events. Also, which is almost kind of invisible, is homeowners associations. If you're in a homeowners association area, attend your HOA meetings. You're probably going to be one of 4 people at that meeting. I know in the area I live, in I was to get just the votes of my entire subdivision, that would win the election. There's about 7,000 to 8,000 people in my subdivision, and that's a huge voting block that is opposed to. So I would also add, like I said, Chamber of Commerce's, DM committees, and HOAs if it's applicable to where you live.
One of the things I'd like to just elaborate on that is you don't even have to go into local government at any level. In order to really get on the level with the people in the area, what I did is I am president of the Northeast Texas Craft Brew Club. I'm also a president for Foods from Barbecue, which is my city's biggest event. And it talks about craft brew, which a lot of people are a little bit more open to talking about beer and what is affected with craft pack and the legislation with that.
Yeah.
And that's a relatable level. So you can have fun, be passionate, but you're able to reach those independents on a more relatable level than politics, because people are turned off on politics so quickly. But if you can relate to them on a fun level, you're going to be able to open up hearts and minds.
Okay, good news, we have a libertarian candidate in the city of Winslow running for mayor, and he is running unopposed.
I did want to follow up on one of the previous comments. One thing that I've observed all the way down to the precinct level and all the way up to the national level, besides conventions, and we do it best at conventions, we are terrible at having fun. And we get together and we have business meetings and we wonder why people don't want to come and vote with us, because it's so exciting to vote on something. We need to get together and learn to have fun in our community more, because that's what's going to get people to come to the other important stuff. So,
Point of order, that's not on the agenda.
Start over. Bear County does a monthly libertarian movie night, really good idea, people love it, so do that too.
One thing that I've discovered as I've contemplated a city council run is, my city of Richardson has a thing called Richardson Leads. And it's a program that they have that, gets you into each department, like there's all these committees and all these things, and it gets you talking to the people that are city employees and all of these things. And, when I was looking for feedback from some of the leaders in my community, they're like, you would be stupid not to do this before you make a run. You really need to know what's going on. You're gonna know who everybody is.
Exactly right.
You know what I mean? So I think, I just wanna echo your point, it starts now. Really, a city council run like that should have started for me last year, to get a year through a Richardson Leads program and how that.
Yeah, in my town of Hutto, it's called Hutto University. And you get to meet every department and spend an hour or two with every department within the city to learn how the city operations work, to see the budget in greater detail than the summary that happens at the city council meeting during budget cycle. And really having that understanding of how things work helps you articulate solutions better.
I would just make one final point in this one, which is there's a lot of really good ideas that were presented. They mean nothing if they die in this room. Tonight, after you get done with the meeting around 8 o'clock tonight. Getting out. Go back to your SDs. A lot of those now, like I did a live Facebook thing for a specific EMI ID. Go back to your SDs and share this. This means nothing if it doesn't leave this room.
And I am going to follow up this meeting with some county chair communication.
I just to say, one thing that started doing over in Collin County, they have the Collin County Homeless Coalition that was started. And it's a lot of churches as well, and several Democrats that I knew that were running were actually the ones that invited me. And so it's been good and it's been important because I'm really outside of my comfort zone. Church and folks are not really staying on a normal day. But what I found is a whole lot of people who want to do work in the community, and a lot of people in the churches as well identify the government regulation as a big reason why they cannot get out and help do what they want to help. So as long as I stay away from a few specific topics, we can agree that the government getting out of our business is the best way for us to serve the community. And also, about my political affiliation, I can just kind of build alliances based on the work that I've done and that I'm doing. And, you know, by the time they see what a good guy I am, they, you know, they'll lose sight of the fact that I'm libertarian. And they'll pass by them, and then you can run a nonpartisan local race.
It's absolutely true. It's amazing how logical libertarianism sounds when you're not looking through it through biased glasses. And so many times we get into political conversations and people's biased glasses are on and they don't hear a word we're saying. But when you connect to them on a different issue or different topic that you have in common, and then you start bringing up libertarian philosophies related to that issue, their glasses are off, their defenses are down, and they actually listen and hear what you're saying so much better. Anastasia, did you have your hand up? I will add, in closing, would you have your hand up?
No, I was, go ahead.
Okay. In closing, I will add that I had a great conversation with Neil Dyckman yesterday. He kind of stole some of my thunder because he posted a great post on the SLEC Facebook group, and he may have added it to the forum as well.
I think he did.
But it's on the Facebook group. Kind of the ideas that I shared with him, he included in his post, but also he's got some other great ideas for different tactics that counties can use to win elections. The great thing about this is that we should not have one directive from the state party that tells your county what to do to win elections. We have 256 potential strategies, and we'll find the ones that work, and what works in a rural county may not work in Harris County or another urban county. So that's why the county chairs are so important in this process, because you have to find what works for you. The state party can't do that for you. We're here really as your support. Okay? That's all I've got. Thank you.
All right, next item up is budget. So I'm going to pull up the treasurer's report. And unfortunately, our treasurer cannot join us today. Their best friend is getting married. But because they were not here for the budget meeting, I did wish upon them that there was no alcohol at the wedding. So, that said, let me pull up what we've been working. So this is the budget versus actual. And I will come in and grab you the script here in just a minute. Or calling you. Grab you is kind of an aggressive response. Yeah. Okay, so I got the proposed budget up, and Ms. Scripter.
I can make a motion to recess for 5 minutes for my apology break.
Okay. Before we act on this, I want to make it known. It's been brought to my attention that the bathrooms, if you go out here and turn left, are single-person bathrooms, and it may be a bit congested. But I've also been informed if you go right and go around, there are larger bathrooms. So, for your information, that's it. Is there a second to recess? Is there objection? I'm sorry. Yes, there is a creek. So is there objection? I hear no objection. 5 minutes. Yes, it is 10:26. Yes.
I only thought about this yesterday, but the 2019 budget doesn't have any set, it has money set aside for the next department thing, but it only needs staff and it'll only be a committee or something. But my concern is that we're in 2019, we're going to be making a deposit for the Convention Hotel. So I was planning to make a motion to authorize you to release funds out of our convention fund for the deposit, or whatever convention might be.
I think it'd probably be easier to just authorize that as a separate thing outside of the budget before we get closer.
Well, I'm not going to try to move it into the budget. I'm just going to make the motion.
Well, my concern is that we don't know the amount that we're application?
No, I was just gonna authorize that you can spend money out of the convention fund. There's $8,000 in convention funds. I'm just gonna make a motion, general blanket motion to say, to allow you to spend on convention related items.
I don't have any problem with that. I think so, hell. But
How do you think you're doing?
I think people want to keep a closer eye on the money, but maybe they want to do something.
Oh, well, that might happen, but what I'm trying to solve is that we may have like $10,000 deposit on this convention in 2019, and we don't have a budget for convention until, we don't plan one until 2020.
Fair enough, yeah.
I'll try, if it fails, we'll do it some other way.
If it fails, we will fire feather.
I'm okay with that, too.
Setting for those results. And we can do it, we're just not doing it. Anyway.
Yeah, actually, I for the official action. I'm wondering if
Oh, that's
this year I'm gonna get back. Yeah, you want some, I think I know somebody that can do the
Years earlier, I was asking my brother stuff like, they're just looking at the work. Why are you not lying? It's like you can lie to everybody else, but you don't lie to us. Looks kind of like this. Website crashed.
All right. Order. We're back in session, but I don't think we have quorum. Does anyone want to move 5 more minutes, or do we want to wait? There was a motion. Is there a second? Is there objection? Hear no objection, we'll go 5 more. Yes. It's 10:32. Also, I want to remind the body, just because sometimes it gets forgotten and conversations will go on that maybe people don't want in this light, but we are broadcasting live on YouTube, so if there's something you want to talk about that you don't want on YouTube, maybe the hall would be a better venue for your conversation. Yeah.
Subscribe.
Yeah. Yes, go subscribe to our YouTube. You can watch along.
Don't forget to hit that, if you're doing a live feed, don't forget to hit that, insert ad thing.
Oh, yeah.
Gotta make that cheap.
Cassie would love that. Because I think if we make over $100 in non-donation revenue in a year, she gets to report to the IRS.
There you go.
Oh, is he?
Anastasia.
Yes.
Is this font legible at that distance?
No.
No. How about now?
Yes.
Okay.
I did. I forgot where I put up.
And these numbers are in the report. Yeah.
Chopped off. I modified it, sent it back, so that way, if someone wants to make a PDF version, they can see all the words. And when it comes to writing, we talk about later on, removing the battery, because one of those bring it up and words are chopped off. And, oh, wonderful.
So, yeah. So which one? Oh, these two are PDF. This is a PDF. This is a PDF.
Yes, that's not a problem. And we run it, I guess, you just want to,
Yeah.
motion to.
Do you need both? Oh, I see that. I see that. Okay, perfect. I get it. There's one that says already reports.
Well, there's one of these PDF.
Well, there's two PDFs.
Oh, is it? Okay.
That's, okay.
So maybe I'm just not seeing it on this tab. Like my folders, that might be. Download this is my tab. So I don't know. What did you say was on your meetings? Yeah, okay, I'm in here. Yeah.
All right. Our second 5 minutes order. Our second 5 minutes is up. I think we're going to have quorum, but if I can ask all members to take their seats so I can kind of get a better view of who we have here. There's at least 10 on that row, and there's another 17 between them, so I do recognize a quorum. So with that said, we can continue on with our, we already have it up, with our discussion on the 2019 budget. I can't believe I'm saying 2019 already, but it's here. With our treasurer out, I can go ahead and field any questions on this, but I will need someone to move a budget if they so wish. So recognize Mr. Thomas.
I'll move that we adopt the 2019 proposed budget.
Okay, you're moving the budget in the report. Do you want to do that as an amendment?
Well, I want to include the spending authorization in alignment with the budget too.
Okay, so you want to do it all as one motion?
Well,
I would recommend an amendment. It's up to you.
okay. You mean make the amendment a spending authorization amendment?
Yes.
Okay, that's fine.
All right, so you're removing the budget proposed in the treasurer's report. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, before I say that, I do know that Mrs. Thomas wants to be recognized for an amendment.
I move to amend to authorize spending in alignment with the 2019 proposed budget. I'm talking about spending out because we have to authorize the spending.
Oh, okay.
What were you talking about?
I was talking about your thing on the convention.
Oh no, I'm going to do that completely separately.
Okay, so did you want to do the authorization of the budget as one?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So we have a motion. I want to clarify. Sorry, I created confusion. That was my fault. Okay, so he is moving that we adopt both the budget presented in the treasurer's report and authorize expenditures for the expense section of that report. Is that correct?
Authorize, yeah, sure.
Okay, perfect.
Can we scroll down so that
We absolutely can. And I'm going to try and do this with the rubberneck. So y'all let me know if I'm going too fast or, come on. Here, we'll do it like this. All right, so it's going to skip, so just be ready. No, it won't, because apparently, there we go. All right, so there's down through IT, down through financial software. I'm going to go again. Political action department. Total operations, there's that up there. We'll go again. And then total expenses and income.
request for information?
Yes.
If we adopt this budget today, and at our next meeting, we want to delete some expenses, say for storage or for our virtual office that we've decided aren't really necessary, what would it take? What vote would it take?
So yeah, it would be a majority vote, and all we would have to do is move to amend authorization. The only thing that would be out of order there is a part of that expenditure category had already been spent. We can't unauthorize something already spent, but to restrict authorization, I'll say we can do that.
Follow-up point of information on that?
Yes.
If we decide midway that instead of using this backup, we're gonna use something cheaper, and nobody votes on anything, what happens to the money?
It probably just won't get spent. I mean, there could be a scenario where we, maybe need it later for for something else that still pertains to that budget category, not just anything. But unless something else that pertains to that budget category comes up, it just will remain unspent. Mr. Jones?
Request for information?
Yes.
Do you guys have, you have access to the 18 budget for us to compare?
We do, and actually in this report, I'm going to go up some. There's actually a breakdown of budget v. actual. Now I will say, kind of preempt the question, the structure of this budget has wildly changed. I'm going to give a short history here. So when I was treasurer, I came in and I saw the appalling structure of the budget. And I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make this great budget structure that we can just use in perpetuity and we won't have to change anymore. And I made the perfect budget structure. And then the next treasurer came in, my own mother-in-law, and she saw the appalling state of the structure of the budget. And she decided she was going to make a structure that we could use in perpetuity, and she made a perfect structure. And we're restructuring it again. The new structure that is being proposed here is that the categories will be based on departments. It will allow the departments more latitude to spend, and it will also direct how much money we focus on growth versus, political action stuff. Whereas this budget is much more broken down by specific items that we are buying, but it didn't have to go to any department. So, you might have something like web services, and that could be either spent by IT, which would be the primary user, but maybe political action or the convention people want to make a website for this stuff, so that could go there too. And this will be more department oriented, so it's just preface at this point. I think it's just something we have to do every single term, is restructure the budget.
So, I have a request for information.
Yes.
Before voting on adopting the budget, I would like to know if the IT department feels that they have enough funds allocated to make sure that Vault is a successful program.
As director, I'll let you answer that.
Well, I am gonna have a presentation in a little bit, but we did raise significantly more than I asked for at the beginning, so I do feel like if we need more money, we'll be able to successfully raise more money for this. I like it being tied to results produced from the first round, and once we do that, I feel like we won't have a problem.
Thank you.
And on that note, I'm trying to pull up. We did receive a $100 donation for the IT project, which isn't exactly what it says, but just for information. Yes.
I'll just point out in the treasurer's report, it says we raised $7,600 for Vault. So.
Yeah. 77 now. All right. We do have a motion on the floor to adopt the budget and spending authorization. If there's no amendments or debate, we can proceed with the vote. All in favor of adopting the budget and spending authorization? Is this a question or you? Okay. All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed, raise your hand. Motion carries. Mr. Thomas.
I move a spending authorization to allow the chair to use convention funds, money out of the convention funds for any convention expenses in 2019.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'd like for you to write it down.
Sure.
Yeah.
Repeat that, please.
I move a spending authorization to allow the chair to use any convention funds on any convention expenses in 2019.
Okay. Is there a second for that? Second. Do you want to speak to your motion?
Sure. I just thought about this basically last night. There's like $1,600 in our current budget for the events department if that money could go towards the convention. But we usually have to get a hotel in 2019. We can't wait till 2020 to do it. So I just wanted to have some route that we could put a deposit down on a convention or any deposit type funding we need to do for 2019. And I trust the chair will make that decision and just release those funds in good faith. And we have money set aside in a convention fund that's to be used on conventions. So I just want us to have a path to be able to spend that money and not worry about it.
Mr. Glass.
I think I have an amendment.
Okay.
So let me think about this. And whatever it is, I want to put contingent upon approval by a SLEC convention planning committee.
Okay. So the amendment is, will you read your motion real quick?
Sure. Privilege. Can we have
Go.
this written on the?
Yeah, we can definitely do that. Let me pull up a Word document, and if the body will stand at ease while I...
I'll have to read it to him.
I love how fast Word is. There we go.
Thanks, there's more coming.
Okay, I'm not going to put title, but I will put text. Okay. What do we have?
Can we read to?
Yes.
Spending authorization to allow the chair to use convention funds on any convention expenses in 2019.
Okay, I'm gonna put this up before we go into any amendments or anything like that. I am gonna ask the body, are there any spelling or grammatical errors we need to get taken care of first? Okay. All right, with that. Yeah. And I'll save this as a motion before I go. Okay, that said, do you want to make your amendment?
Yeah, and then I just, what my amendment is to add, at the end of this sentence, do comma, contingent upon approval by a SLEC convention planning committee. I'll be happy to speak to that when we're ready.
Absolutely. Let me do one more thing before you do that.
Instead of A, yeah, change, instead of A, put B.
Yeah. Good call. Okay, this is the amendment. Okay, please.
Right. This is based on the idea that authorizations for expenditure should have some level of specificity to them, and you should kind of know what you're spending on them, especially special things. You know, when you have routine budget items, yeah, you can authorize the routine expenditures for routine stuff. But authorizations for expenditure are, as a practice, is best done when you don't know for sure when you budget it exactly what the details are, and you want to have some level of a little bit more oversight before it actually proceeds. And given the fact that the Convention Planning Committee did a good job last time, I know their expectation that we're going to have that again this year, I want that body to be involved in the decisions about whatever expenditures are made.
Yeah, and I do want to give some information real quick, and then I'll call on Ms. Glass. One more thing that may help the body in deciding this. Actually, I wasn't really involved in this. I heard about this about 10 minutes before it came up. But our rules read that this body, not the select committee, but this body chooses the time and place of the convention. So it would be my reading of our rules that neither I could authorize nor the committee could choose until this body decides, just to let you guys know. Ms. Glass.
That's the point I was going to make. But I also want to amend this.
Okay.
Say, any convention.
What do you do?
All right, you're making an amendment to the amendment? Okay, yes. So where are we at?
Starting with
Just point of order.
Convention funds.
Point of order, so I was gonna speak against Tom's motion, if she's making an amendment to his motion,
She still had the floor, and that was improper of me. So please go ahead, Ms. Glass.
Use funds from the convention fund. What do we call the convention fund?
Yeah, convention fund, I think is what it's called. Now, where will that be inserted at?
To use funds from the convention fund. To use funds.
Like here?
Yes.
That's not your meeting.
Yeah, it's not really in that amendment, so we'll have to come back and take it later. I do think I understand what you're trying to do, and I will come back to that.
It's not taking it from our budget. We have a
Yeah.
convention fund and using funds from that for convention purposes.
Yeah, I do understand the intent. I'll come back.
Okay, then I have another one.
Is this
Yes.
okay?
In any convention expenses, I would insert necessary to be paid in 2019.
Yes. So that's also going to be outside of this because we're only allowed to amend Tom's amendment right now. But yeah. So, Ms. Martinez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I wanted to speak against Tom's amendment. On the grounds that, like you said, spending isn't really authorized by a select committee. This body is responsible for overseeing those funds and can authorize or not authorize. Secondly, I wanted to just let this body know that we have an events department that's vacated, and I intend to fill, I'm hoping to, I'm planning to apply for the role of director of events, and to build an event staff again. And I'm fully intending to work with this body and be accountable to the body right here in this room So I don't think we need this amendment to authorize a committee, to authorize a committee to spend. We don't need that. We have a committee, we have an oversight, we have a department, we can get it filled, and we can work together as a team. So I just wanted to speak against the amendment.
Okay, any more discussion or items on this amendment? Well, seeing nothing, we proceed to a vote. All in favor of the amendment, the underlined portion, raise your hand. All opposed? The amendment fails. Yes, Mrs. Glass.
Okay, I would move to amend this motion.
Yes. Let me get my mouse ready. Oh, come on. All right, here we go.
Where it's, we allow the chair to use funds from the capitalized convention and capitalized fund.
I'm gonna do this. Do capital C. And then I'm gonna do some strike throughs.
Or convention expenses necessary to be paid in 2019 for the 2020 state convention.
And now, I'll do this. Oh, don't
And
do that.
I'm not done.
Oh, you're not done? Okay, sorry.
And subject to SLEC's selection of the convention time and place.
Okay. And I'm going to do this. I really should have just track changes, but all the highlighted portions will be deleted.
Funds has two F's in it.
Yeah.
Second.
The second one's lowercase.
Okay.
Just taking care of that.
Okay, I think that represents your motion with the highlight. Okay. Okay. So this is the amendment on the floor. I think I heard a second. Did I?
No.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. Okay, do you want to speak to your? Yes.
I think the author put this together, he said kind of quickly, and I think this hits the heart of what the intention is, that sometime, we have a state convention that legally required for April of 2020. So we might have to put some money down for that as a deposit in 2019. And so, but we also have the requirement in our rules that SLEC must select at least the place and the venue of where we're going to have this convention. So I think this makes it, paves the way for any necessary expenditure to be done consistent with the law and our rules.
Okay. Anyone to speak against this motion? Yes.
I'm gonna speak against this purely because of the redundancy in this amendment, considering the way that we've already got that last little section that was quickly added on to the end that says about being subject to SLE selection of the convention time and place. We've already got that in our rules. I don't want us to get into the habit of repeating our rules over and over again just to be verbose. So I'm speaking against it for that reason.
Okay. Any other discussion? Seeing none, we can proceed to a vote. All in favor of adopting the amendment, raise your hand. All opposed? I think that's gonna fail. I'm gonna count the, all in favor? Oh, 1, lower your hand please. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. All opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Fails. All right, we are back to the main motion. Thank you, Control Z. Okay. Yes.
I presume we're now in discussion about this motion.
Yes.
I think I'm going to vote against this motion primarily because it's premature. I think when we authorize the time and place, and once we've determined how we're going to manage the convention, then is the appropriate time to make this. I understand the logic that Arthur did here in terms of doing it today, because we're talking about authorizations for expenditures. But I just think it's too early, and based on the idea that before you authorize something, you ought to know a few more details about it, I'm going to vote against.
Okay. Yes.
I'm going to vote for this, and the reason I'm voting for this is because I feel like it is important that we recognize who it is that we are authorizing. We're authorizing our chair, Mr. Wilford, who has frustratingly and frequently been too fair. It has annoyed me, it has made me angry, but I trust that he's not going to do something ridiculous or vindictive, and everybody has experienced that with him. So just for the sake of expediency, I would suggest you vote for this.
Okay. Yes.
I'm going to vote against this. No one should have this authority. I mean, it is so open-ended to use convention funds for any convention. But what? Is there anything in any account that we have that is off limits to be spent for whatever one person, that we are the governing body of this party? And I've never run across an instance where this sort of authority was necessary, and it's certainly foolhardy. So I urge everyone to vote against.
Yes.
Call the question.
Motion to call the question. There's a second. Is there objection?
Point of information.
Point of information.
Does this include spending a lot of money on coffee?
I'll take it real quick. This is not specific to what it's to be spent on, but usually coffee is done much later. So spend money on coffee later on. All that said,
Point of information.
point of information.
In your experience running a political party, has anyone that's ever embezzled funds stopped to check the rules first?
You know, I can't think of an instance, but I haven't interviewed many embezzlers, so.
Just check.
Yeah.
I mean, because my experience as an accountant in audits, it doesn't happen.
All that said, I think it's time to proceed to a vote on call the question. Is there an objection to call the question? I hear no objection. We'll proceed to a vote. All in favor of this motion, raise your hand. All opposed? Motion carries.
Laura, I believe this is an authorization of expenditures, and it requires a majority of the entire SLEC, not just a meeting resolution.
I vaguely remember that, but I'm not remembering exactly where that comes from. Can you point to where it comes from? That may assist me. Yeah.
Authorization of expenditures, the rules say, we've always interpreted this way, including adopting a budget, but we did adopt a budget by a majority of the SLEC.
Let me, before I look this up and go into this, let's vote again. I'll take a count, and it may reach that threshold, may not. Let me see what that threshold is right now. So a majority of the body right now is 27. So let's go ahead and take a vote, and if it's in between the two, then we'll kind of deal with whether it does require that. So all in favor of this motion, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. So it definitely falls short of 27. So we need to have rules time.
I don't know if it moved to the bylaws or not.
It probably was. That's where I'm starting. So governing documents. By the way, a question was raised on the forum, and I addressed it there, but I'll say here. If you want our bylaws, I'm pretty sure they're on Ignite, but if they aren't, under our party, under resources governing documents, all those documents are here for.
I have it, Mr. Chair.
Oh, perfect. And I'm going to, while you're doing that, I'm going to do.
Section 6, approval of expenditures number 2.
Okay. And could you read it aloud?
Authorization of all expenditures shall require a majority vote of the state executive committee.
And it does read to be a majority of the entire body. So.
What was that number again?
Or, it's 6, 2.
Section.
Roman
6.
numeral 6.
Roman numeral.
So SLEC bylaws.
Just like that.
Yeah. Okay. But with that said, the motion fails. All right. Let me pull back up to here. So we're past that. Legislative agenda discussion and motions. And I think we grabbed quite a bit of time. No, actually not. We're 6 minutes ahead. So legislative agenda discussion and motions. Are you going to lead that, Mr. Harris, or what was Renee gonna?
Yeah, this is going to be,
All right, Mr. Perez, if you can come up and address the body, and I'll grab your PowerPoint. And full 1080p. There you go. And I need to take this. All right.
Howdy y'all, I'm Renee Perez, Vice Chair of Tarrant County, also Coalition Liaison for the Political Action Department. Eric couldn't be here, so I'm going to be speaking on his behalf on our 2019 legislative priorities. We've had a lot of discussion as to how to balance our efforts between coalition partners and current legislative realities. So this is not the absolute very best that we can do. We need to keep in mind that things constantly change. Another bathroom bill might pop up, or maybe there'll be another red alert attempt for laws. So this is a basic starting point that I hope you guys will get back to us to let us know your feelings on this. Thank you. So marijuana decriminalization, this is the best way for us to reach a decent bill quickly, in that we, as opposed to legalization, we don't want the government involved, least amount possible. Texans for Responsible Marijuana Policy have amassed a tremendous knowledge base on the different intricacies of this. It's actually a very complex situation. The bill that we want to support has not yet been submitted. They're hoping to modify the bill that came very close to a vote in 2017. Stay tuned. We will update you as soon as that comes out. There's currently 2 bills for decriminalization. We can discuss that later on. Next, please. Election integrity. This is really important. I'm so glad that Stephen spoke about building up the bench, because down ballot races in 2020. There is proposal that I hope to discuss with y'all to allow overseas military personnel to participate in our convention and candidate nomination process. The primary parties are participating in voter suppression, state-sanctioned voter suppression with the primary system because they monopolize the access to overseas personnel. Working on the ballot board at Tarrant County, it just made me ill to see all of the ballots that came in from overseas, where I know from their perspective, the only candidates that existed were from the primary parties. That's not true. I will speak on this with y'all individually later on. I think this has potential for gaining us lots and lots of votes. As a data point, Ron Paul had somewhere between 40 and 50% of the support of military personnel because he guaranteed that if he was president, he would only support constitutionally supported wars. Next, please. Property taxes, same old.
You skip constitutional carry.
Oh yeah, constitutional carry. Yes, it speaks for itself. They're Stickland up in DFW has submitted a bill. I need to go over the fine-tooth comb, but this is pretty self-explanatory. Again, there may be another movement for the red alert laws. You guys may remember that came up? Yes.
Just a piece of information, I'm not sure if it should go here or the marijuana one, but with medical marijuana, you lose your right
Yes.
to handguns.
Yes.
And so it might need to go in both.
So this is one of those many intricate details that need to be worked out. I cannot give a proper justification to all that we need to work on in 10 minutes. I'm going to try and see my highlights, but please bring that up later on because that's very, very critical.
You're saying red alert, you mean red flag?
Sorry, red flag.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm confused. But I assume you guys know there was a push for legislation on that. Property taxes, same old. There is an idea to bring something similar to Proposition 13 in California. I was hoping Ted Brown would be here, and he could probably fill us in more on that. But that's pretty much the same process that we've sought to improve in the future. Yes.
Also, one I wanted to add on here, this was actually a part of my campaign and the reason I ran for office. Property taxes between individuals and businesses are wildly different. Businesses are getting an incredible break. The specific was an apartment complex that's tax appraised at $10 million, that's sold for $50 million with a $30 million subsidy, and it's still tax appraised at $10 million.
So speak to me later on that.
And the dark store issue, I mean, there's a lot.
No, I completely.
If businesses were paying what we were paying, they'd be on our side.
Yeah, absolutely. So get with me afterwards, and we'll go into more detail on that.
Thank you.
Next, please. Ben Farmer has an interesting suggestion.
Here.
I like this one.
To end daylight savings time. Maybe this is sort of in the view of having fun, but
It's on the radar in Texas.
yeah, it might give it some popularity votes, so to speak. But something to keep in mind.
Exactly.
Do you mind if I speak to this real quick?
Oh, go ahead.
So this is actually one that I've been talking to Ben Farmer about for 2 years now, I think. And when he told me this, I said, Ben, you're drunk and crazy. And the more he talked to me about it, the more it made sense. It's a very uncontroversial item. I can't think of people who are like, I love daylight savings time. Think of how it's saving daylight for the crops and cows, you know? And it is a government program that was implemented, was a large failure, And we have continued on down this road almost as if prohibition never ended. Just we keep, it's kind of like, punching yourself in the face. So you see someone punch themselves in the face over and over, and you say, why are you punching yourself in the face? You say, well, it's free, So, and so the more you talk to me about this, it actually starts to make sense. I have some question over whether this is the main fight we should be fighting, but I think it's an easy one, so. Yeah.
I'd love to have
It's a
one
fight
win,
we can win and bring attention to the party.
Yep, I think we can get some publicity out of it.
Yes, publicity, because it's a little off, but still relevant.
About twice a year.
Next.
Yeah. So the ramifications of this are pretty interesting. Cautionary tale, I understand that there was a move to bring back straight ticket. Oh.
I can say that working with polls, Democrats around Harris County, they were talking about it being straight ticket voting was voter suppression because it's suppression of minority vote. And I was like, but you are missing other races when it's straight ticket. But they were talking about bringing it back as the Democrats. It was to have a strong.
So this is literally on my TLO account. The elections committee is my top of because I do fully believe they're going to try to treat us as unfair as they can legally.
Let's return to order a little bit, please.
And so I'd love to hear more points of view about this, and the fact that we have the intel, because that's where I've heard back channels as to how that's going to come about. Yes.
If you don't think that they can do it, just look at New Mexico.
Yep.
Jerry Johnson.
Secretary of State.
Oh,
yeah.
So
They brought it back.
So yes, so yeah, please feel free to, if you guys may know more than we do, so please let us know, keep us informed. So trying to keep this as simple as possible. This does require a vote of 3/4 of the SLEC officers. So we try not to get too detailed, especially because the filing deadline is not till March 8th, and lots of things may pop up. We may have to drop everything and defend some crazy bill that says only primary parties should be on the ballot. They are that crazy. Are there any questions that you may have about this?
Yeah, I would like to talk about the philosophy of management of how the Libertarian Party represents itself to the Texas legislature. And given, I was the person that was authorized to speak on behalf of the Libertarian Party when I was vice chair back in 2013, and actually got some legislation passed in the election code doing that. And I, of course, attend the legislative session most of the time in the last 2 legislative sessions and plan to do so again. So that gives you a little bit of background. But what is the philosophy that I have? The real question is, when does a representative of the Libertarian Party when they sign up and say, I represent the Libertarian Party of Texas, hearing make a deal, and when you go, you see your state legislature, state reps, say, I am speaking formally on behalf of the Libertarian Party of Texas. And when do we just coordinate lots of people lobbying on a particular issue as individuals?
I'm sorry, Tom, that's too narrow. The Libertarian Party is not about just a couple of people. To think that so much weight can be carried just by 1 or 2 people, I don't think that's very libertarian. I think we're fine to have people that we work with to represent us. There's so much work to be done, so many representatives to speak to, so many committees, hearings to attend. I don't think it's realistic to.
You missed my point, or maybe you got it. Here, so I just want to. This is just discussion. I'm not making a motion. I'm just discussing. And I may make a motion here in a minute. It depends on what's going on. But and the thing is, are you saying that anybody that wants to can go to the Texas legislature and say, I represent the Libertarian Party of Texas? No. I think it's okay. Personally, I think it's okay for any person to go and say, I'm a Libertarian and I support that. But the question is, when you formally say, I officially represent in a hearing, or when you're representing, I represent the Libertarian Party of Texas. Now, of course, counties, you have the county chairs, and counties can have their own deal to say, representing the county deal. But I'm talking about the Texans. What's your position? I didn't quite understand.
Before you respond to that, what's the point of order?
Just the point of order was that he was asking a question 50 times.
I don't think you heard the question correctly, because I think there was a, what should we do here or here?
Well, but before we get any deeper on whether the question was heard correctly, do you want to just respond and maybe that'll clear some of the stuff?
Give the opportunity to
Well,
answer.
that's kind of why I cut you off, because you were saying the same thing over and over again, and it seemed as though you wanted to sort of concentrate the power for who speaks for us to one or a couple of people, and that's. I would not claim that we have an official philosophy set aside as to who's going to represent us officially. However, as a coalition liaison, I will plan to speak for the party with other people as resources become available.
So, Tom, I can clarify some as well. Whatever priorities this body approves, if I'm at the Capitol and I'm speaking on one of these approved priorities, then I can speak for the party. If I'm there speaking on an issue that I'm passionate about, that this body hasn't adopted, then I will be speaking as a libertarian and not as the party.
So, I'm gonna, real quick, before we do anything else, I'm going to go ahead and take back the gavel. I feel like we're kind of meandering from business into discussion, and I feel like people who have had their hand up aren't recognized for people who are just speaking. So I'm going to go ahead and take back the gavel. I will start with a point of information, though.
What is the process for SLEC to approve particular individuals to represent the party?
So currently, the way we've done it in the past is SLEC has, through, and there have been a couple different processes for this, approved a legislative agenda, or I think we're calling priorities in this case, and then we have a specific person, whether it is, what are we calling that position? Our legislative, it's not director. We have a particular spot in the org structure, and that person has gone and spoke. They've also coordinated legislative meetings at the legislature of many libertarians, and they've kind of coordinated that. It sounds like there may be some different views on how we should do it this time, but that's how we've done it in the past. I'm going to go to Mr. Townsend.
Yeah, it's more of like an information. There's nothing that we can do to stop anybody going up to a legislative hearing and say, I'm representing the Libertarian Party of Texas. There's nothing that we can do. We can't sanction it. I mean, all we can do is, damage control after the fact. So, I mean, this is a non-issue.
Okay.
Because whenever you go into a legislative hearing, you can go and say, I'm here representing the Libertarian Party of Texas because there's no other libertarians here. If you want. But like, our vice chair said, you can go up there and say that you're representing the Libertarian Party of Texas if you're the only libertarian there. Because technically you are. But you don't have to. So it's really a non-issue.
I'm going to come to Mr. Turner.
I'm just a little bit fuzzy. Do we actually have anyone in that regard, I guess, who can officially speak for the party, who legislators and other people know is actually speaking for the party?
At this moment, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think at this moment we do not, but we have two people who have applied. One's been mentioned earlier of Mr. Watkins, and there sounds to be some controversy around him. But I do believe that Ryan Simpson has also applied for that role, who has done it in the past for us. So it's highly likely that we will have one when that time comes. And I'm going to try and get these in the order I think I saw them in the back. Yes.
I did want to add a recommendation for an area of focus for the Libertarian Party. This is a really big opportunity for us, and that would be beer-to-go sales in the state of Texas with Craft Pack. And the reason why is because Texas actually ranked number 50 in beer-to-go sales for local business, small businesses, obviously breweries. What? Yes, actually 49 states have beer-to-go sales for their breweries except Texas. This is something that is brought up in every legislative session. The Republicans and the Democrats have not backed Craft Pack or these the libertarians could get behind that, because that encompasses every single principle that we hold dear when it comes to small businesses, taxes, free market, all of that. That would be a huge win for us, and it'd be easy because all the other states
Give it to
have
me
it.
afterwards, I'll be more than happy to go over that in detail.
Ms. Scripter.
I just, when we're discussing, talking about the messaging that our political action department is putting out there, we also need to keep in mind that these are volunteers who are putting their time in. So they're gonna choose things that they're able to speak to, that they're capable of supporting. So if we're gonna be choosing areas of focus, we need to be keeping in mind who it is that is volunteering to do this. We need to respect their expertise. We need to respect their knowledge and their activity level as well. I would like us not to hamstring our departments by putting too many restrictions on them.
Mr. Burns?
So this has been a question of mine since I got on SLEC. I mean, obviously our main focus is getting libertarians elected, which we're doing swimmingly at. But we can have a much larger impact on legislation, seeing as how we don't have anybody officially speaking from an elected standpoint. By like what Tom said, going and speaking, being in front of these committees and things. What we accomplished, I say we because many of the people in this room, wasn't able to make it, but many of the people in this room were able to make it to speak when the governor decided he wanted to explore the possibility of implementing red flag laws. A lot of libertarians spoke up. A lot of people made sure that they understood that Texans aren't going to stand for this, regardless of whether they're libertarian or otherwise. And that type of thing, making a noise, can impact quickly, impact legislation. So my question is, with this political action department, are we going to be able to have, is this something that's going to stay on top of this and inform us, hey, this event's coming up, please organize your people, take time off of work and go speak to this? Because frankly, I haven't seen anything in the year I've been involved in this party. I've seen very, very little come out of us towards the public in the way of be here at this date, this time, ready to say this, so on and so forth.
That's part of the coordination that we're working on. I have now regular conference calls with operations, PR, and the political action department. And the political action department will be communicating with PR when we need to get an urgent action item out to libertarians and towards the non-libertarians as well. So if there's a hearing that, sometimes they come up and they only have 3 or 4 day notice. So that coordination is happening.
Okay.
You will see
And I'll help any way I can.
action alerts is what we're going to call them.
Okay, cool, thank you.
I just wanted to sort of maybe an idea, a little bit of a suggestion. I mean, we're all constituents of somebody, and all of these elected people like hearing from their constituents. And I'm just wondering if this is all, if these positions are approved as these are the things we want to advance. Perhaps there could be something, but there could be something like a letter writing campaign that could involve people at the county level. It's something that could happen, that you could have an approved letter that we're going to all send our particular representatives. This is something that would sort of bridge that gap to be something, an official position of the party. It would sort of get it out in front of the people that need to see it, and it would also have some local involvement with people. I've done it before with
professional
organizations. We have a letter writing campaign. You just sit down, everybody writes a representative. We can have an approved letter and send it off to all our representatives.
Professional lobbyists have counseled me that, yes, old-fashioned snail mail actually still has impact. Even sometimes printing crayon, if it's for an issue that may affect children. But yeah, snail mail works, and form letters, yeah. It's certainly something that we can consider.
I've gone blank. I don't know why I can't remember your name. Yes.
It's repression.
Yes.
3 points with the last one, with the handwriting. This kind of circles back to a conversation we had earlier about we need to make sure we have qualified people in the different positions. Because if we have a very qualified person in charge of the political action department, I'm not saying we have or we don't, okay? But when we have very qualified people in these director positions, then we can kind of take a step back, having trust that they will be able to run their department with our oversight, right? So this kind second thing is, and I saw this recently, that there was some classes being held on testimony training. People going to Austin to do testimony. There was a training for this, so that might be something that we want to look into, so you know what you're doing. Third is kind of a story from my past, talking about writing letters. In a previous life, I was in chiropractic college, and I was at TCC in Pasadena, and the state legislature was getting ready to make it very unfriendly for chiropractors in the state. And we spent an entire week at school on campus. And they put up here's the letter you write, and write it out. So handwriting letters is incredibly impactful. The thing is just to get people to write the letter and also to give them suggestions.
Like I said, we'll be available after the meeting, so I'd love to have this.
Mr. Glass.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion.
Yes. Before you do that, may I take some privilege and speak to this, and then I will recommend you to do that? Okay. A couple things I want to address, and hopefully I'm not stepping too far out of line and debating some of these issues from my seat. I guess the first one is just kind of informational, maybe something I should have brought up during my report. But there was talk about legislative training sessions. I actually attended one here recently with a person named Rachel Malone. Many of you have probably heard of her. She actually used to be employed by the Republican Party on their constitutional carry, front, until the Republican Party decided that wasn't too important, so they let her go.
Governor back channeled because she opposed red flag.
Yeah.
And storage.
So she is now working for Gun Owners of America, and I ended up in a rather amusing situation, going to one of her trainings and finding myself in a surprise Dallas County Republican meeting. They tried to get me to be a precinct chair, in fact.
What'd you say?
Yeah.
Did you accept it?
So anyway, I got with her after the meeting, and she is really excited to work with us. A couple of points she brought up is, one, if we can get all our legislative candidates up there, we can be passing legislation right now without even getting elected. She is so passionate about that point that when I told her some of the problems we've had in the past, she cut me off and said, I will personally call every one of them if you want me to. I don't care, get them up there. She's willing to put in the work. Secondly, she said if we have a lobby day, I actually was talking to her about coordinating it with Stickland's constitutional carry bill so we could all go up there and hit that. And she said, well, we won't go until 3 days in advance, so it's not really, it won't be easy to do, but we can at least send out alerts. She said if we have a lobby day and we can get a space for her, she will come up and do her training on that day with our people before we go to lobby. So we can have that advantage right there. And so that's a great avenue I think we should pursue. And I'll be reaching out to her soon unless there's critical objection from the body to get that done. The other one I wanted to address a point, and one more thing she brought up in her training. So there's been talk about letter writing, which I think is the second best thing you can do. And there's been talk about phone calls, which is slightly more effective than nothing. And she was bringing up the point about phone calls. She was talking about people saying, well, I can't go, but I'll make a phone call. And her response to that is great. Can you get about 10,000 of your friends to do it too? If not, that's probably the opportunity you just missed not coming. So I think we need to be doing what we can do. But being one of the 6 or 10 people that actually testifies for this bill is way more impactful than being one of the 6 or 10,000 people that makes a call. And so we need to be taking advantage of that whenever we can. I know it's time away from work. I've done it. I know it's a lot of travel. I've done it. But if we want to move our political agendas forward, there is not a time or action where you can take that will be more impactful besides getting elected, which I don't think any of us have done, that will do more good for that. The last point I wanted to address is a point that was raised here. There seems to be a little bit of back and forth on the importance of who speaks for us and who doesn't, and whether or not anyone can speak for us. I'm going to kind of somewhat legitimize what Mr. Townsend said, and then talk about why we shouldn't take that attitude. So he is right. Anybody can say whatever they want because they own a mouth, right? I could go up there and testify on a property tax bill, say I represent the Democratic Party of Texas and taxation is theft. However, there is a huge difference in me saying those words and them legitimizing those words, or at least not refuting those words. And I think it is important that we not take a laissez-faire attitude toward our own messaging. If we're going to take a laissez-faire attitude, it is the equivalent, I think this will, for reasons I'll never understand, resonate with the body a lot more. Let's just give everybody access to post on our Facebook page. Okay? We don't want that, and we need to control our message. Now, we can discuss how that needs to happen, but it doesn't need to be anyone who comes off the street, because there are people in this party who have been longtime members of this party who I do not want speaking for this party. So, with that said, that's all the comments I have, and I will recognize Mr. Glass.
I do want to remind you, we plan to work with everyone that when we have a lobby day, if there's a particular bill, especially when that wonderful marijuana, the cannabis, medical cannabis law comes up.
Mr. Press, can you make this quick? I am giving him the floor.
Well, I just want to reinforce the fact, because I think you may have glossed over that fact that we're not looking to let anyone speak for us. We will work with people.
Mr. Glass.
Okay, a fellow SD7 rep asked me to yield my floor to her. Is that a proper thing?
I will entertain it, please.
Thank you. And thank you to the gentleman from SD7. When I was chair of the political committee, responsible for legislative lobbying, among other things, we had a very clear and precise discussion and agreement about who could officially speak for the party. And it was the chair, the vice chair, the head of the political department, and we said on occasions those three people could deputize someone to come in and speak on behalf of the party. But I find it very foolish to think that anybody could just come up and say, I speak for the Libertarian Party. What if several people showed up and took contrary positions on the bill? This makes us look foolish. It diminishes our effectiveness. It makes us look like we don't know what we're doing, and we don't if we allow that to happen. John is exactly right. Anybody can say anything, but it is a fraud. They are fraudulently misrepresenting themselves if they stand up and say, I am here officially to speak on behalf of the Libertarian, and they grill you on this. Are you here to speak for yourself, or an entity, or what are you? And you must declare. So if someone says this fraudulent misrepresentation, any one of us who would hopefully be there for a hearing on a significant bill could stand up and say, that's wrong. He's a fraud. Don't listen to him. And that's how you correct. And it doesn't happen very much. But if we give out the indication that it's okay for people to do that, that's when they start showing up and doing it. So it's one thing to say. And I've gone and testified, and Tom has testified in the legislature more than anybody else in this party over 30 years of experience. And I've gone and testified, and I'm not since I was political chairman, I've never said I'm here to testify on behalf of the party. I testify by myself, on my own behalf, or as chair of Harris County Libertarian Party, but this is essential that we get this straight. And it's not that we don't work with other people, but we are very clear about who is authorized to speak for the party. And I'm very passionate about this.
Okay.
Well, Ms. Glass, you were invited to join the discussion.
Mr. Perez, you're jumping in here. Ms. Scripter.
I want to understand what it is that's actually being discussed here, because my understanding of somebody representing the political action department, or somebody chosen by the political action department to represent a specific topic, is basically this deputizing thing that we're talking about. So I think that we're all on the same page, we're just using different words. But is my understanding correct that if somebody's going up there, actually on behalf of us, the Political Action Department, the Vice Chair will tell them, yes, you can speak on our behalf. Otherwise, it'll be the same thing regardless, right? Like, we're just gonna have to go back and.
I may be able to settle this really quickly, and the body can overrule me if they want to. I'm going to look at my vice chair here, who is over that department, and say right now that me and you can make an executive decision that me, you, our legislative coordinator, whatever the position title is now, can speak or deputize, and that's the administrative decision we're making. Do you agree with that?
Political action director.
But, okay, that's fine. So those 4 people,
Information.
or direct deputy position. Okay, yes.
Are we talking about, organizing or arranging lobbyists?
No.
Because that's where we're getting into that area.
So lobbyist is an interesting term, but it usually denotes someone being paid, and these are volunteers, so that's kind of the difference here. But they are lobbying.
Right. That's
So,
what I'm,
yes. Yes. Okay. I'm gonna go to Mr. Van Single.
Okay, I'll make it real quick. I just want to point out that we just defeated a motion that gives somebody too much power to make a decision about making a deposit on a hotel. Yeah, we're talking about only having certain individuals being able to say that they represent the military fund. I'm a duly elected officer of the party. I'm the precinct chair. When I go to city council, I represent myself as the precinct chair of District 48. Precinct 48, and I don't want to be out of compliance in doing that. You know, like how deep do we go? Like, I mean, to the city, like,
So
I don't think I'm out of line saying that I represent the party at that level. So I just want to understand like what we're really saying.
yeah. So for clarification, all I was speaking about is the state party, Libertarian Party of Texas. If there is the Libertarian Party of Como County, they can speak. If there is the Libertarian Party of Precinct 47 of Como County, they can speak on behalf of that. But Libertarian Party of Texas.
If I may double dip, I think that answers a lot of questions,
Yeah.
right? I think you can go to the state legislature and say, hey, I represent Tarrant County, I represent Collin County, I represent whatever, Senate District 8.
Yeah.
Whatever, and, you know.
7802 Reading.
That clarifies.
Yeah, it does. But I would caution, and this is up to the individual counties and precincts, that if you are going to do that, that you have the approval of your executive board at that level. So, Mr. Glass.
All right, I have a motion.
Yes.
This is a motion that I put up on the meeting forum.
Order.
This
Let
motion,
me grab it.
and this is just to get it kicked off. I'll make the motion and speak to it. Do you know which one I'm talking about?
I'm trying to pull it up, but I need to resync my Ignite. So if you want to
It's
go
not
ahead.
on Ignite. I couldn't put it there.
Oh, it's on the
It's on
forum.
the
Okay.
forum.
Yes. Please continue, and I will find
Okay,
that.
here, I will go ahead and make my motion. Motion. The people appointed to represent LP Texas at the 2019 Texas legislative session should make a high priority of having a bill introduced and passed that gives political parties that receive more than 20% of the vote in the previous governor's race a choice to make nominations for elective office by conventions or primaries.
Okay, yes, and I found that, and I'm opening it as quickly as Word will go.
I guess I'd ask for somebody to give me a second.
Is there a second to this motion?
Second.
There's a second. Is it germane to this?
Yes.
Please.
I'd like to speak to
Has Mr. Glass been given the opportunity to speak in favor of this motion yet?
He has not.
Well, I was going to speak yet.
Okay.
Or,
Okay, please.
Okay, first I'll talk to the merits of this, then I'll talk about the process that we're in. In terms of the merits of this proposal, is, you know, I still think that we need to go someday, we're gonna be in the point where 20% in the governor's race, we're gonna get more than that, it's gonna force us into being a primary party. I am of the opinion that the Libertarian, what has killed the Republican Party has been the primary system. And I think if we ever became a primary party, it would kill our party and not let us control our ideological content or our candidates. And so I think it's time now, since it takes multiple sessions to usually to get a bill passed, to start building the coalition with the Republican and the Democratic parties. I think, of course, this is this very same topic that the amicus that we did not talk about is issuing. And that is that parties should be free to choose how they choose their nominees. And I think the Republicans certainly would be in favor of this, and maybe even the Democrats. I've talked to the Democratic guy who goes to the session every year, and I'm pretty sure they want more control over their own processes as well. And this would be a way we could build a coalition and get started looking to the future. So I just want to work on that.
Before we go any further, I want to say thank you, Mr. Perez, and
We're gonna speak.
well, yeah, please have a seat, and we'll recognize you.
As to process where we are, I just put this up here because we need some sort of motion to be formal about this. And this is something I care about. If people want to amend and add other issues, that's fine. Or if they want to, after this one passes, add other issues, I'm fine with that. I just wanted to get the official action going with this motion.
Ms. Wilford.
So, I don't think this is particularly necessary. And additionally, we've got language in here about should be a high priority, which makes me wonder, how are we going to measure that the political action department made this a high priority? And if this legislation has not been drafted and proposed and is not on its way through the legislative process, are we prohibited from taking action on other items until that happens? What exactly does it mean for us to make this a high priority?
Is that a question for me or just a statement to the body?
Maybe it's a question for me.
I would like to answer it if that's okay.
For me, it means that's something that the people that are going to be going and talking to the legislature that represent us will be involved in. It does not prohibit any other activity. It just says put this up there and make sure you can if you can. By the way, I will also say that I'm happy to craft the language for this bill to provide it to the appropriate person or persons.
Mr. Thomas?
I'm okay with it. I would actually like to get a lot of election code, and I don't think the Texas government has any business telling any political party how to run. But I don't want to start throwing out amendments. I have a question or something reasoning. Why is it focused just on the above 20% line instead of just saying all? Like just give any political party the right to choose whatever they want.
Well, the reason why I didn't do that is because right now the current law says 2 to 20 gets the choice. Above 20 doesn't get the choice. They're forced into primaries. Below 2% is forced into conventions. But the reason why I didn't change the below 2% was because primaries cost the taxpayer a lot of money, and I don't want to just throw a lot of taxpayer money at new parties. I wanted to have a little bit of control there. That's fine, and I think it's a lot easier to pass the 20% thing than it would be to do the 2% below.
You can go to someone else, and I'll wait.
Ms. Scripter.
Okay, I'm gonna make a little bit of a rant, not bad, but I wanna speak to this because this is going back to the expediency thing I talked about a while ago. We've got a political action department. This could have been sent to our political action department. These people are volunteering because this is what they're studying in, this is what they're specializing in. The majority of us in here, this is not our area of focus. If we continue to cut our volunteers off like this, they will continue to feel disrespected, and we will continue to lose good volunteers because they get burned out, because they're not being rewarded, at least with being acknowledged and encouraged in their efforts. That being said, I love this, and I do want us to be able to control all of it, but I think that as a body, we need to start focusing more on allowing our committees to get work done, allowing the people in the committees to branch out and pull in more people. It is working on the vault project. It should work
Mr. Ransinger?
I'd like to speak in favor of this. I think it's absolutely aligned with our principles, and I think it's a principled approach, and, the election code really does hang up. It may be a moot point because unfortunately we don't really seem to be instructing distance at 20%, but I'd like to make sure that that's on the books well before. And personally, I agree with Liz. I would like to see this stuff kind of before sitting in here. But it's absolutely principled, and it has my support. I lost the last thing I was going to say, but I would encourage the body to support anything that is principled such as this. And I have no doubt in my mind that we have enough volunteers for this, because Tom's going to be there talking about it.
Mr. Flynn's been waiting very patiently.
Okay. As a member of the political action department, I promise I'm going to bring this up in committee, Tom, but I'm going to use your phraseology that it normally takes several cycles for a bill to finally pass. And it's time for us to start working on this issue in 2019, but not demand that it be introduced, that the lobbying can take place, that a bill gets introduced, just that we're going to work on it. I think it's important. I like the idea. I just don't like the motion.
Fair enough. Look at Mr. Press.
When it's still 2 birds with one stone, one, this does fall, I think, under the elections priority to protect us and we should perform. And also, to Anastasia's question, there's a feedback process. We talk about these things. It's not just do this, do that, feedback. It's all about feedback. We can invite feedback from y'all. I will be available after the meeting as to how we actually work. These little details we can talk.
Mr. Brown?
To answer kind of both sides of this, there's no definition for what making it a high priority is. So, I can claim I made, going to church on Sunday a high priority. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. So, I'm just saying the motion is kind of, in a way, it has no teeth. So, to answer both sides of that, I'm just stating what we like.
Right.
Whether you agree or not.
Are you seeking to be recognized?
Yes, I agree that this is a great idea and a great piece of legislation that we should start talking about now. I think the motion to, mandate that we take it up is unnecessary because it is part of the elections umbrella, as we pointed out, and we welcome your experience and expertise to help shaping our legislative priorities.
I got a couple first timers, then I'm gonna come back around to people who've already spoken. Privileged.
Mr. Glass, my question is, if this motion, you proposed the motion, you said that you'd be willing to craft the language for it. If the motion didn't pass, would you still be willing to work with the political action department, crafting that language and helping us to make it a priority? I'm not part of that department, helping them make it a priority.
Yes.
Okay, so.
Mr. Turner.
I guess, I'm wondering, we were just talking a few minutes ago about who is able to speak officially for the party. I don't recall this being anywhere in our platform or anything like that, and so how does this become an official position of the party that people can speak towards, saying that this is the will of the party, unless we pass some sort of motion on it?
Appropriate to call the question.
It would be if you want to.
Second. I'll call the
There's a second.
Second.
Is there objection?
Objection.
There is objection. All in favor of,
I'm sorry, I didn't see you.
please say your name.
Lysco.
All right, all in favor of calling the question, raise your hand. All opposed? This is 2/3. With that said, we will proceed with a vote on this motion. All in favor of the motion as written, raise your hand. All opposed? I think that's going to fail, but it's close. All in favor, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. All right, all opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. That was close. Motion fails.
Just one point, what I'll say, what I've heard from that vote was that in general, that we're supportive of working on this issue and that the committee will. It's just that we don't want, the body by one vote majority does not want to be specific in terms of direction to the committee.
Hey, yeah, that's the general will. Does anyone object that we shouldn't do this?
No.
I don't hear any objection.
I don't have an objection. I like the idea. I just, I haven't had enough time to think about it, I think. But I still think the choice should just belong to political parties. I get the cost issue, but this motion, as it reads, seems like we're just trying to help the Republican Party. They wrote the rules. It's not our fault. We're a political party. We should have that choice just like anyone else. I don't care if we made this a political party, we're past the line. So I would like that idea to be discussed.
There's been a point of order.
The discussion's already been voted on, debate's over.
That is a good point and well taken. Is business?
Well, we're still in legislative agenda topic.
We are, but we're not debating the motion anymore because the motion has been dispensed with.
Okay.
But I think your comments are generally understood.
Request for information.
Request for information, yes.
Is there anything pending with respect to this item on the agenda? Can we recess for lunch?
Yeah, I was actually about to say, I was going to see if there are any more hands. Mr. Perez, do you have anything on this agenda item?
Well, point of order, y'all need to vote to approve the agenda.
Oh, do you want to move the agenda that you proposed?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Perez moves the agenda proposed in the slides. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Is there objection to that motion?
Objection.
There is objection. Point of information.
Are we voting on a legislative priority list here?
We're not even voting, only the officers can vote on this. And they have to require a 3/4 vote, so if it doesn't happen now, it can't.
Where's that?
I don't know.
What?
Can you refer, is that?
Only the officers vote on the legislative agenda, and it has to be 3/4 vote.
Where's that written?
Yeah, I don't know. Yes, I do remember that passing.
What's this?
Policy manual, page 13. I do remember that passing last term.
All right, can somebody bring that up and
Yes,
show that to us?
Let me do that. You are right. Thank you.
I also think if this doesn't get voted on today, then it significantly sets that back, is that right?
Technically, yes.
Okay, so this vote is a priority.
Legislative agenda. Oh, here we go.
By vote of SLEC?
Okay, here we go.
SLEC
Yep.
limited its own future power.
Yeah. Oh, wrong screen. It'd be better if it was on this screen where we could all see it together.
Sure.
So, can I have a point of information?
Before we do that, I do want to read this policy.
Okay.
So, oh gosh. Well, this is going lovely. There we go. All right, I'm sure in the back I won't be able to read this, but trust me to read correctly, I guess. Legislative agenda from our policy manual. A legislative advisory group consisting of the political director, vice chair, legislative coordinator, and coalitions liaison will develop a legislative agenda. This agenda must be presented to LP Texas officers for 3/4 approval, then to select no later than the last meeting before the legislative session begins. Now, at the end of each legislative session, a preliminary legislative agenda will be developed. and presented to SLEC no later than the last meeting of the calendar year. During a legislative session, priorities and content of the legislative agenda may need to be altered. Significant changes must be unanimously approved by the legislative advisory group and communicated to SLEC by the vice chair. So, we do have 3 officers here. Do you all agree to the legislative agenda presented?
So I just have a point of information just quickly.
Real quick.
Okay, so how long does this go for? Sorry, I'm a newbie. How long, the vote that you're about to take, this agenda, how long is it going for?
All the way through this session.
Okay, so this amendment that Tom proposed to move that particular thing, does this have to get added to that political agenda for it to be on there?
Well, many people are reading that it's already included in election reform.
That's all.
So,
I just want a clarification.
so, do you agree to the legislative agenda proposed? Do you agree to the legislative agenda proposed? Okay.
Is that yes?
I'm not so sure. Do I have to vote right now?
Well, they can't vote until we vote.
Yeah.
And that has to take place at this meeting, so we could.
Do we need to vote or do we need to just present it? Yep. I don't think we vote.
Could you put the rule back up, please?
Yes, I can. It's policy manual.
I know you love the Texas standards. I'm not that enthusiastic.
The what?
The Texas standards.
So you're not enthusiastic about that?
But the other ones, yeah.
I am sad to hear that. However, if that is a contingency for you joining us, I will accept it.
I'll even vote for the Texas.
You'll approve the whole thing. So, order. What had just occurred up front is the 3 officers present have agreed to the proposed legislative agenda, and I believe there was a motion on the floor from Mr. Perez to adopt that. Yes, and there's a second.
Point of information.
Point of information.
Are we getting ready to vote on that?
Yes.
It doesn't say we have to vote.
No, just officers.
All 3 of you just did.
Then,
The body doesn't vote on that.
But it says
That's
for
us. Yeah, but you're already done.
it has been presented.
Yeah.
Thank you. There we go.
Point of order.
Point of order.
Clearly, it can't be presented until you guys approve it.
Do we need to
They just
represent
did.
it?
Can we do that by acclamation?
Yes, I think we can. Any objection? Yes.
Isn't the best reading of this then to SLEC for approval?
Yeah.
Doesn't say that.
It doesn't say that though.
We go how English works.
Let me say this.
Modifying the officers.
Either way, I suspect that if we take a vote on this, that we'll get approved, and then both sides can be right.
That's already right.
So, there was a motion on the floor, there is a second. Is there objection to approval? I hear no objection.
Question?
Yes, what's the question?
Is what we're voting on, this slideshow we saw?
Yes, those priorities that were presented in the slideshow, I can bring them back up. Or can we list them real quick?
Point of information,
Point of information, yes.
this is not a separate document, not the slideshow.
I'm sorry, say again?
They presented a separate document.
The priorities are the same in both, so,
The report is detailed.
okay.
Officers have reviewed and approved it, now we're voting.
But he's saying it's voted on.
Okay.
Point of information.
Point of information.
We have a pretty broad election code section in the thing. Already it's been deemed that my previous proposal was considered to be part of that. Would talking about removing partisan labels from the ballot in the election code also be considered to be part of that agenda?
Yeah, and in fact, I think there was a separate slide just for that, so I think it's even more explicitly part of it.
All right, next point of personal privilege, can we go back to this agenda?
Yes, we can, and let's.
And let me also ask a process question, and that is it possible for this, yeah, I think it is. I want to make sure. Is it possible without amending the policy manual for us to make amendments to this document at this point?
Hold up. No, I would say no. However, I don't think there's any of the officers up here who, if the body wanted to change something, would be averse to changing it using that bottom section that allows for change. But no, I don't think a committee report.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So now, I think I need to look at this document one more time. If we'll go through there, but I think I may have a motion.
Okay, so let me get back over here. The points were marijuana decriminalization, election integrity,
Okay.
constitutional carry, property taxes, Texas Standard Time, and straight ticket voting.
Now I have a motion.
Please.
Which could you scroll back up to the election portion? Okay, election.
Request for information.
I'm gonna let him finish and then.
Okay, and so I move that we suspend the policy manual in whatever degree that we need to strike, allow overseas military personnel to participate in our convention's candidate nomination process from this list.
Okay,
Order.
so
The motion's invalid on its face. The rules clearly state that it's up to you three guys to vote on it.
I'm gonna address a few things here. First of all, we have different levels of documents at this time, and while you are correct, we cannot suspend the rules. This is in the policy, which absolutely can be suspended by this body. I would say that it is not germane for us to suspend the policy to amend this document, but we can suspend the policy to adopt an agenda that is similar to this one, but does not have this line in it.
Okay, that's so good.
So that is what he wishes to do. It will require. So yeah, let me clarify. He is moving that we suspend our policy on how a legislative agenda is adopted to allow this body to adopt the legislative agenda, and he is proposing with that suspension that we adopt this legislative agenda that was presented minus this one bullet point. Is that correct?
Correct.
Second. Very second. So, yes, allow overseas military personnel to participate in our convention candidate nomination process. This may not require specific legislation depending on Secretary of State inference. That is the bullet point that he does not wish to include. With that said,
Point of order, there's already a motion on the floor we're supposed to be voting on.
No, there's no objection.
Yeah, you put it up and got seconded about voting for this, which is what my point of order was, that we're not even supposed to be voting.
that is a good point. We have to dispense with that.
Okay, well, isn't this an amendment?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's germane. It's germane.
The motion was, correct me if I'm wrong, the motion was for the body to vote on whether or not we accepted.
Which is a
Which we don't need to do.
He's calling a point of order on that action because the body doesn't have the right to vote on it.
Yes, I would like to get rid of, dispense with that motion before we proceed with another one.
But what Tom is asking for is to suspend our policy so that we can. So that's what.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that's considered an amendment.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Yes.
Let me make, is it germane to talk about the policy right now, given where we are?
What do you want to talk about in the policy?
Well, the intention, as someone who was on the policy committee back then, for better or worse, it may be poorly.
Are you debating the suspension?
Well,
Are we in discussion now on my motion?
Yeah. I don't think the suspension is debatable. No, the suspension is or isn't debatable depending on the topic at hand. And yes, you can debate that. You're correct. Yeah. Sorry. We're
It's
getting
okay. I'm
And I would like to
confused
speak
too.
to my motion.
Absolutely.
The intention of the policy was not to stop this body from being an oversight committee to do what it wants with it's our legislative agenda. So the intention of the policy the problem in the past, just for history, was that legislation would pop up suddenly before the legislation was in, and then a bunch of stuff would happen and no one would be informed about what's going on. So that was this policy is our correction to try to say, hey, this needs to get in front of us so we can make changes if necessary. The reason the language is like that is it says at the very least the officers have to approve it, but it wasn't revoking the authority of this body to do whatever. That wasn't the intention of this one.
Thank you very much.
So I agree that this body should be able to do what it wants as far as the legislative agenda goes. I don't know if I can unwind language that we might have not written perfectly in the past, but I'll look at it further, and we don't have a policy committee, but I'll recommend a policy change at our next meeting or something.
Mr. Glass, you want to speak? Huh? Motion to recess is always in order. Point of order. Point of order? I am gonna do that. Tom, do you want to speak to your motion before we go to?
All right. I'm not gonna talk process, because I think we've got through the process issues. This body does have the power to do this. I've rise to just try to get rid of this as a priority of the legislative folks here for the party, because I think this is a very, very difficult thing. It's never been discussed before. I don't know how you actually implement it. How do you allow a military person to participate in our conventions and become delegates to the state convention? And how do they become delegates and vote in the state convention? I don't know how that's possible. And so I just think this is, I understand that I hate it that the military personnel cannot be part of our conventions, and I hate it that they don't have the Libertarian Party in their mind share as a result. But this is not a solution that I know how we can make happen, and I don't think we should be devoting resources to it, and that's why I made the motion.
And I'm gonna come over here. Motion to recess for an hour and a half?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there objection?
Objection.
All in favor of an hour and a half recess, to which afterward, just to be clear, we'll come back to where we were. Raise your hand. All opposed? That passes.
What time are we coming back?
An hour and a half, so that will be
1:39.
1:39.
Okay. By the way, I'll make an announcement. I'm going to make an order for Cece's Pizza, which is close by, for delivery. If you would like to participate in that order with me, please come up and talk.
Everybody, could you do your vision, your thoughts on your vision, and put it in the box back there and give it to me? All right. Give us some feedback. Okay, share that. And more. Yeah, you do. We get an
Mr. Glass.
Good.
I hear what you're saying, but I just don't, I think it's
I'm guessing you're gonna be announce. Oh, no, Stephen was gonna do it, right? So discussion on, well, whoever does it. I guess what I'm trying to figure out is it's gonna be a YouTube rolling for this. Probably not, it's just for you taking their shirt.
That's your
I'll take it down.
Anybody else have a pizza?